But a little bit of a recap for last time. Case 4 started off with a fucking bang. Well, what it did start off with was the Redhead League and Sholmes dyeing his hair red to try and get free money every week. But what it quickly turned into was a missing person, the chief warder of the prison. His wife came to try and ask us to look for him, and it turns out he hasn't been the chief warder for 10 years. And as soon as we learned that and went to go report back to Sholmes, we found out that Gregson was murdered, and Beric van Zieks was arrested for that murder. We immediately set out to investigate, and eventually ended up in court, where we've managed to throw some doubts on that conclusion. The current theory is that Gregson died the day before in the course of another investigation, and that Beric was just the one who was set up to find the body. So now, we're going to be talking to two men from the Redheaded League, those scammers who are trying to like, hey, we're going to pay you money if you're a redhead, but in actuality, they were extorting people. We're talking to the people who were arrested for it now, and we're going to see if we can shed some light on what actually happened to Gregson. Yes, okay. You have conspired to swindle money from unsuspecting members of the public. Is this true? Oui, c'est ça. And what exactly was the nature of this deception by which you planned to defraud? Oh, I will explain it. No, Capo, leave it to me. As you see, we both have the vivid red hair, no? At school, we were teased for this without pity. Capo here, he was many times behind the schoolhouse, crying like the Trevi fountain. Weh, those dogs one day will respect us redheads. Every night he would bury his head in his pillow and weep for the injustice. C'est bien, Peppino, enough. I will explain the rest. The first step was the newspaper advertisement. About 1 week before the plan was put into operation, we listed the same notice in every paper in London. Yes, we saw that notice. It was this one, I believe, entitled To the Redheaded League. Oui, c'est ça. I am honored that you have seen it. It states that the only condition for joining the League is having flame-colored hair, and that if you satisfy the interview panel and are admitted into the League, you could receive a weekly income of £4. On the date specified, redheaded hopefuls gathered in droves at the park specified in the advertisement, and from each person present, this pair took an application fee of 5 shillings. And with the money to France, it was a plunge most delicate, no? No, it was most dishonorable. But to be frank, I'm stunned anybody was foolish enough to be taken in by such an obvious trick. The park was described by one witness as choked with red-headed folk like a coaster's orange barrow. And the day on which all these men gathered to apply was the day before the victim was discovered. Crucially, these two men spoke face-to-face with every single person present that day. Oui, I have seen more red-headed people in one day than I will see in the rest of my life. See, and now every time I see the couples here, I feel sick to my stomach. Anyway, why have we been summoned here today? Sorry? The date for our trial was not until tomorrow, I was told. Naturally, neither of these men have been told any details about this trial. They've only been shown this photograph. Very good. So, Mr. de Rousseau and Mr. de Rossi, you will now give your formal testimony for the court on the subject of the gentleman pictured in this photograph. Of course, we are always ready to help with the law. I don't trust you for a second. I don't think these two did it. But they're con artists, I don't trust them for a second. The man in the photograph. We have more than 1,000 red-headed people assembled in the park on the Lime Street that day. But I don't recall the man in this photograph. Aye, couple? No, I don't remember him. Obviously he's dead now, but I assure you he was not in the park. Allora, this victim has nothing to do with us. You have a lot to answer for, Peppino. It is your fault that we got caught in the first place. You've given sworn testimony that this man in the photograph was not present. Can you be certain? Oh, oui, I am quite certain. We did not interview this man. Nobody looking like this came to the park, this I can promise.
It must be known that you've been arrested for grand deception, however. Accordingly, this court has little confidence in your assurances.
Oof, with this attitude, we get to nowhere, huh?
He's really a sulkin now. This confidential document was obtained directly from Scotland Yard. It records an entry from the inspector's private diary dated the day before the incident. It reads, Lime Street, Red-Headed League, undercover.
Ah, I have the answer. Maybe there was another similar event in the park on the day in question, eh?
That is ridiculous. There's no question that Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League, which means it's quite possible that's when he was killed.
Very well, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination now.
Ah, yes, my lord.
The man in the photograph. Alright, you know what time it is. Press everything.
1,000 people, that's a very big crowd.
It was quite a spectacle, that had come from all over the capital. See, the couple here, he has the magnetismo animale, eh? Nobody else could attract so many people. If I could be born again, I would be the couple. All those people wanted was the money, Peppino, the £4 per week.
Are you suggesting that you spoke personally with all 1,000 applicants?
Oh, oui, that we did, because every one of them paid us 5 shillings. We take their names, and we take their money, and we take their addresses as well. Then I tell them we take some days to let them know by a post definito, maybe 2 minutes a person. We start early in the morning and we stop late in the night.
So you earned 5,000 shillings in one day? That's a small fortune. Who would have thought there were 1,000 such gullible redheads in London to start with? One of whom was a great detective with chemically altered hair.
I don't recall the man in this photograph. I don't believe you would. You spent 2 minutes a person?
He doesn't look at all familiar.
No, I don't think so. And it's a wig. He was trying to trick us. I do not like the people who are trying to trick the other people.
Says the con artist. If between them they interviewed 1,000 people with red hair, it would be unreasonable to expect them to remember every face.
No, senor. I may be small, but my memory is very large. I never forget a thing. In my opinion, I do not think this man was in the park.
But he's not going to give the court a definite, it seems.
Hey, couple, you didn't see a man like this, huh? Don't remember, and obviously he's dead now.
Hold it!
Okay.
But according to what you've said, you spoke with 1,000 or more people in that day. Oh, yes, that's true. Might as well burning by the end of the day. Surely then you can't actually remember every single face. How are you so certain that this particular man wasn't present?
Normally the red hair is very distinctive, right? But not when you have 1,000 redheads crowding around, then it's just an eyesore. But if there was some other information you could give us, maybe we could recall. I forgot these people existed, Lamp. Yeah, like, they showed up for 5 seconds at the beginning when Sholmes arrested them, and then after that, they're gone. I didn't even think they'd be involved in all this until it's like, look, he's wearing a bright red wig. He must have been investigating them. That is not the line, Peppino. Remember, we do not remember him. We are sure of that fact, huh? If there was a man with a red hairpiece, but his mustache did not match the color, then I do not think I could have forgotten him.
Cosmo said these two had only been shown that photograph and they'd been told nothing else at all. But what if I fed them just one other detail about the victim? For example,
his fish and chips!
I can certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember in this situation. What if I told you that the man was always munching on a packet of fish and chips? Do you remember a man who was eating incessantly? Not really. I was looking at the ads of the applicants. I wouldn't have noticed the fish and chips any more than the caviar and smoked salmon.
Or spaghetti. I love spaghetti.
Really? I had no idea. Doesn't make it what you said before, Peppino.
See, Capo, see, I say it again and again.
Damn, I thought the fish and chips for sure would have been the answer. Damn, okay. I'm not smart. Well, I'll press everything and then go back to that.
Hold it!
But we only have your word for that.
See, what else can we do, huh?
True.
Oh wow, we're not having much fun these days. First we are arrested, then we are shown the horrible picture of a dead man, and now you question every single thing we say. We are the victims here. Ay, capo.
No, you were caught carrying out a plot to swindle hundreds of innocent people.
You have to bring that up. Ay, it's not fair. Ay, capo.
You have a lot to answer for, Pepino. It is your fault that we got caught in the first place. What do you mean by that?
Cavolo, you promised not to say, ay, capo. After we had taken all the money that day, we should have left the country. That was my plan. I left the purchasing of the tickets for the ferry to Dunkirk to my companion here. But he bought them for the wrong day. Oops. See, but it's an easy mistake to make, huh? Now first the 31st. Oh, I have no sympathy for you. You are an old day late visible because of your stupidity. And it's only because of this the so-called great red detective caught us. Capo, you know what I think? I think it's the work of God is a holy punishment, aye? Peppino, for the last time, this is not only punishment, this is only your fault. Ah, don't blame God for your unholy mistakes. You are making me sick with anger. Maybe I make a mistake, but when it's time to eat the pasta, no one is faster. And I've seen the evidence.
You haven't told us much we didn't already know.
What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, if it was in the inspector's diary, it seems likely that he must have gone to Lime Street that day. And yet these two both claim they didn't see him.
I have to say, they don't appear to be telling lies.
Well, they are experts in deception, don't forget. Sounding plausible is their specialty. They may be lying simply to avoid being implicated in this case as well.
Surely if they were truly experts in deception, they wouldn't have been caught.
Well, yes, you do have a point there. Seems to me like we need more information.
Definitely. Okay, so it wasn't the fish and chips. So how could we otherwise tell him apart?
Hold it!
Going through this. Boop, 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 boop. Come on, speeding through. Surely he wouldn't have told them that he was a cop. He probably would have told them his name, though, because they did say they're taking people's names.
I can certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember in this situation. But what if I told you that the man's name was Gregson? The man in the photograph is a Monsieur Gregson? Yes.
Names, they are boring. I did not listen to any of them.
Oh.
It was not a real interview, it was just for a show. Why would I remember the names? Yes, that's right. This changes nothing. The man in the photograph was not there, as we have already said.
I see.
It seems there's little to be gained from pursuing this point further.
Doesn't make out what you said before, Peppino.
See, Capo, see, I say it again and again. Okay, so... I really hope he didn't tell them that he was a police officer when he was trying to be undercover. Like, that would be so fucking stupid. Alright, his profession.
I can certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember in this situation. But if I told you the man in the red hair piece was actually a detective?
The man in the photograph, a detective.
Yes. It would appear he found your notice in the paper suspicious and decided to investigate incognito.
Oh, sorry, but this changes nothing.
Excuse me.
He told them he was a detective when he was trying to be undercover? Gregson, are you stupid?
Okay.
Something to add, Mr. De Rossi?
See, I'm always adding something. Parmesan, olive oil, pepper.
What I mean is, did you not agree with your friend's last remark by any chance?
Hey, what did you just say? About the detective?
Yes, that. Keep your mouth shut, Peppino. You have said enough already.
But why, Capo? What is the problem? There was a man who said, I am an inspector from Scotland Yard.
What? Good lord! Order! Explain this volte-face in your testimony, witness.
It's simple. A man who was at the park said to us that he was an inspector.
There was no such man.
Matai, what are you saying, couple? Have you forgotten, I
have forgotten nothing. Nobody like this came to the park.
Basta, couple, basta. You beat me at the many things, but not to the memory and the meals. Like I said, when it's time to eat at the pasta, no one else is a faster. But you are inferior to me in every other way. So shut up.
Objection!
I'm so sorry for these accents, by the way. Also, I love how Cosmo and Yuneski just have matching animations there.
Drop those, the damage is done. Indeed it is, sir.
There was a man who came to the park and he said he was an inspector from Scotland Yard. However, he looked nothing like the man in the photograph. He was someone else.
How can you be so sure?
Because to start with, his face was completely different. It's true. The man who came was younger. His face was clean-shaven, his eyes were sadder, his chin was thinner.
No resemblance whatsoever, then. Anyway, I was not going to be fooled. I took the obvious precaution and said to him, if you're really detective, show us the proof.
See the couple here, he doesn't take on the nonsense, eh?
But he was well prepared. He said he had identification. Identification? You mean official police inspector's identification? That is most unconvincing. Sorry, my lord. Counsel, no incognito inspector would offer his identification for inspection. It's quite out of the question. Definitely. Why would he expose his true identity? Clearly the papers are fake.
Saito couple, you're a genius! As we say in Italia, it takes a thief to recognize another eye.
And what happened after he announced that he was a detective? It became very annoying. He said, you're under investigation. So I took his papers from him and chased him out of the park.
It was fantastico, and look, here's the identification.
So you stole it from the man?
He had it coming. He made us very scared. But he was not who he said he was.
Indeed, the person described does not appear to have behaved as a true inspector would. However, I believe it would be prudent for these identification papers to be entered into evidence.
Oh, but I like them. Okay. We're looking at that right away.
Now let's return to the witness's testimony.
Identification of man claiming to be a detective inspector confiscated by Mr. De Rousseau and Mr. De Rossi. Metropolitan Police warrant card. Aha, the little latch in the back.
Well, I suppose we should see what this inspector's identification looks like inside.
Let's see.
Yeah, it definitely looks fake, doesn't it?
Out of interest, what name is given?
Probably just something plucked out of the air. It's Tobias Gregson. Wait, what?
This Scotland Yard insignia looks genuine to me.
But how?
And the department and identification number details are all correct as well.
Since when have you known those? Do you mean to say?
I know it seems incredible, but yes. I think this is a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard.
But that's unbelievable. This is the real thing after all? Okay.
Brain thinking. Hang on.
A thinner, sadder face, huh? My god, maybe her husband is the murderer. Especially because her photograph was there. Okay. But like, why would he be tracking down all these cases? Was he hired to kill the people who got away in court? And that's where his money came from? He's been a murderer or an assassin for hire this whole time? But then why would he kill Gregson? Gregson didn't do anything wrong. Maybe it's because Gregson was onto him, so he had to kill him, and then once he realized that Gregson had places to be consistent with his journal, he took the book and like placed himself where Gregson would be?
Nothing to do with us. Someone called the man in the photograph. Where should I present the book on this statement? Because victim has nothing to do with us. Because this does prove he was there, right? Or no, it proves that somebody with his book was there. So maybe I should press it on this. God, I'm just gonna save now for my dear HP. And go a couple fails and see how we're doing. I'm gonna try pressing it on this one because the book was there. Nope, that's the wrong button. It's R.
Objection!
Hey, got him one. Okay.
I wonder if I could ask you to examine this identification book very closely. Miss Lestrade? Why Miss Lestrade? What is your intention here, Counsel? Is this really a fake or is it genuine? That's the question, which we can't answer ourselves.
Objection!
Don't be ridiculous. No Scotland Yard detective would allow his or her identification to be stolen. That is the boss's! No question about it! It can't be! As I suspected, the undercover detective who attended the Red-Headed League's enrollment on the day in question was the real Inspector Gregson, carrying out an incognito investigation. Such a lore!
Oh, he fell over.
Order! But if the boss had his identification stolen, they would have reported it straight away. I mean, it was always on me about it. If you lose something, report it at once, he'd say. Could it be, then, that the inspector was physically unable to report it?
Physically, eh? What are you saying?
Unable to? You're not suggesting. Yes, it's quite possible that he was killed before he had the chance to report his identification stolen. No! Order! The defense posits that the victim was killed the day before his body was discovered at a different location. Do you two have anything to say about that?
I know nothing! I done nothing!
Pull yourself together, Peppino. Mon Dieu, you can behave a little more like our master criminals than that, no?
I wish I had to return to Italia.
Stop crying, Peppino, please. Otherwise, Lummy? I don't know what that's meant to be. Loom, stop your whining and start talking. Well, I believe the court will need to hear a story in considerably greater detail.
I don't know nothing.
But you will tell everything, or face the worst possible outcome. You will dry your eyes and testify again about these identification papers and the precise circumstances under which you came by them. For crying out loud!
I don't know if that's how I'm supposed to be pronouncing those u's. I've just been going for it. I don't know what those symbols over the letters mean. Detective and the identification.
The truth is, we took him prisoner and kept him for the night to the secret hideout. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case.
We took the man's identification from him and shut him in the room next to ours.
There might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm, and waited the next morning we let him go.
He spent the night in a nice room. It was nothing like prison, really. Wah! They just completely flipped. Okay.
This is outrageous. You imprisoned the man.
But no. It was not like a prison. It was a very comfortable and calm and happy. Hi, couple. It was never part of my plan, I swear it. So you think it was not my fault, just because I got the date of the very wrong. By one little day. I do not think it was your fault, Peppino. I know it. No, por favor, capo, it's not fair. You should have plenty of time for squabbling back to the prison, gentlemen. Oh, I don't believe this. Oh, could he have been a real detective? Counsel for defense, proceed with the cross-examination.
So on the day before the incident, Gregson spent the night confined in this pair's hideout.
Maybe I was on the wrong track with with her missing husband acting like they're Gregson. Okay. Well, press everything.
Hold it!
Do you realize what you're saying?
You have to believe me. I never intended for that to happen. She's a detective, did not intend it either.
Do you think?
But there was nothing else I could do. You see, nothing else. It was the first time for the couple. He was at the end of his wits. I have told you before, Peppino, that is not the way to describe a criminal mastermind.
What about this hideout of yours?
An old empty house behind the park on Lime Street. We rented the place for 2 days. It was an inspired idea by the couple here.
An impulsive idea, I would say.
No, not impulsive. Inspired. I couple. What am I supposed to say to that, Peppino?
And it was in the house described that you confined Inspector Gregson, was it?
Oh, oui.
But you have to remember, I was under the impression that he was a pretender, not a real inspector. That doesn't quite add up, though. If you didn't think the man was a real inspector, there would have been no reason to take him prisoner, would there?
No, you're right, but we couldn't be completely certain. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case.
Too scared? Why?
Because why had he come to the park? We didn't know. There was a chance that he had seen through my plan. And if that wasn't the case, he would go straight to the police station to blow the whistle on us. And he was just feigning to be an inspector. He was up to no good, without a doubt.
I think most people would agree that it's you two who are up to no good.
Well, see, you may be right. Hi, couple.
The point is, we were not able to escape from England immediately, so that is why we had no choice but to take the man prisoner. What I don't understand is why the inspector felt the need to show you his identification in the first place.
See, I asked myself the same question.
We were writing down the names and the addresses of all the people we took 5 shillings from that day. I have forgotten what name he said, but the address, it startled me.
See, address, Scotland Yard, Homicide Division, he said.
What? He probably didn't like your face, Peppino. Anyway, I was not rude, I just politely asked him why he had said it. And that's when he started to say he was an inspector. Not too long afterwards, he took out his identification. What was Inspector Gregson playing at? Tell the court what happened next. You took him back to your hideouts, you said.
I see, we did! I think they are going for somebody had already taken it and was pretending to be him.
Hold it!
That being this identification book here, correct?
I see, that is the one.
What made you believe that it was a forgery?
I never seen a real one, of course. But you were so suspicious, this a man. Allora, I was thinking, it must be falso. Like couple?
Oh wait, it is just as Peppino has said. We are convinced it was not genuine.
And so together, the hilarious brothers, we took the man captive.
All we did was shove him inside the locked room. Is that we made the preparations to transfer all the money? In for a penny, in for a pound. There might have been a little tussle, but we didn't alarm, and next morning we let him go. What do you mean by a little tussle exactly? Huh? Both it was nothing. Just a minor incident.
They falsely inspected here's a real piece of the work, couple.
What happened?
Oh, fine, what a disaster. We gave him a nice room, and what does he do, In the middle of the night, he tries to escape through the ventilator.
Can you blame him? We chased him, bien sûr. We caught him again.
Can you blame us?
Wait, you didn't shoot the man in your haste, did you? So who do you think we are? Of course not. I simply got hold of him again and took him back to the room.
What are you doing?
Excuse me.
Mr. DeRossi, is something wrong? Me? Something Mr. DeRosso just said seemed to make you, well, it seemed to make you act even more strangely than usual. What was that all about?
Cavallo, at times like that, you don't want to have the couple after you. Believe me, this be from a personal esperienza.
Personal experience? That is enough, Pepinos. There is no need to say more.
Now, truth is, the night before we put the Red-Headed League plan into action, I was scared. It was not fair to the couple, but I tried to run away.
It's a shame you didn't manage it.
But the couple here, he came after me like a turbine, huh? And he dragged me back to the house, kicking and screaming. I saw the bruises to prove it. Aye, couple?
Bruises, you say?
That matches what was on Gossip. So maybe, that ruins my theory of the husband being the one who did it. But maybe there's some sort of like interconnected thing, like it's multiple people working together. As like a league of hired assassins in the background, maybe? Is this too much? Maybe it is. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time there's like some strange, massive killer family, right? A fucking deck killer. Okay. Oh, you wanna see, huh? You wanna see my fantastical bruises?
That's enough now, Pepino. No one wants to look at any part of you.
What did to do? I show you where I don't. I show you where I don't.
You do, now.
Hello, if everybody wants to say it, then I do it. Ako, you see? It's so very visible, eh?
That red ring around your neck? You got that when you were dragged back to the house?
I see a couple. Sometimes he's very rough.
I said that's enough! Pepino's neck has nothing to do with what we're talking about, dear. You have my word.
Yes. What is your opinion, Counsel?
About this red ring around Mr. DeRossi's neck? I wonder, does it matter? Oh, it matters! Mr. DeRossi, I'm going to have to ask you to amend your testimony with details about that mark on your neck.
I couple, you see? Everyone is interested in what I say, huh?
Very well. You will amend your testimony as requested, Mr. DeRossi.
See if you really want to know. Try to skip the color, put the color. Collar! A collar, huh? Wow. Wow. Alright. He tried to escape, but the couple put the collar on him and dragged him back like you did it to me, see?
Hold it!
Are you saying that red mark was caused by
SCC, a big collar made from the leather.
a leather collar? Is this true, Mr. DeRosso? Oh, what? We had a Saint Bernardone when I was younger. It is a souvenir from that time with a very strong chain. A strong chain? And you put that around your friend's neck? I'm sorry, I was just so angry that he was leaving me alone.
I did not have to tie the chain to the leg of a pedal, eh? I would not have tried to run again. Oh my god, what the fuck is wrong with you? God. Fellas, is it gay? I'm just saying. Alright, moving on. I had to take 2 sips of a drink. One bit of water, 1 bit of Coke, just to make sure I'm surviving this.
You didn't do that to Inspector Gregson as well, did you?
Treat the people equal, is the Capu's motto, eh?
It's starting to sound a lot more like a prison all of a sudden.
The Capu's are tough, but the Capu's are rough.
I shouldn't have done it. So, the following morning when you released the inspector,
He had the red ring around his neck, just like a me.
Peppino, s'il vous plaît, leave it now.
Now you know, huh? A cop here, you don't want to tangle with him, eh? But for the inspector, he's not so bad. He spent a night in a nice room. It's nothing like prison, really. I mean, I'll press it anyway. But...
Hold it!
Jesus Christ. You took away the man's freedom. However comfortable you made it sound, you're still holding him prisoner.
If you say that, then I say this. There is something that takes away our freedom too. The lack of our money. So we are the prisoners as well, huh? All of us.
Huh?
No money, no freedom. That is the truth. It makes me mad and it makes me sad. What can we do?
Well... If you feel so disenfranchised, take money to court. It'll cost you, of course.
Oh, Father, you have it. You see, that is why we need the Red-Headed League to fight for the justice.
Perhaps he has a point.
No, Mr. Naruhodo. All we did was to give the man a comfortable place to sleep for the night. And you say it was a prison, huh? Huh?
Perhaps he has a point again.
No, again, Mr. Naruhodo. We should have heard them snoring. My God, if anyone was disturbed, it was us.
Not much to go on, really.
Their testimony does make me wonder, you know. About this pocket watch belonging to the inspector, I mean.
Yes, the one he treasured so much, apparently.
If he was confined but not restrained, as the witnesses are implying, he would still have been able to wind his watch.
That's very true, yes. So did Inspector Gregson actually die while he was being held captive by these redheads?
In which case, is it possible that these two young men are responsible for Inspector Gregson's?
To be honest, I find that hard to believe. Perhaps we should try to find out exactly what happened?
Very wise, Mr. Naruhodo, yes. Check in the room next to ours. This is clearly the statement that we need. But I don't think we have anything showing, like, the mark on people. Or can you see his neck? You can't see his neck. So I guess we're gonna blow a hole in our own theory to then make the point that somebody was pretending to be him, right? That's what I'm gonna go with.
Objection!
So the day before his body was discovered, Inspector Gregson was taken prisoner while working incognito. No, it was not like that. It was hardly a prison. It was an invitation to stay. It was only... However you describe it, there's one glaring inconsistency that remains. What inconsistency is this, counsel? I would ask the court to look closely at this photograph of the victim, Inspector Gregson. You will see that there is no red ring visible around his neck. Eh? But that makes no sense. I mean, who took the collar off the man in the morning? And I saw the red bruises on his neck, just like I have. Given that the mark is still clearly visible on this witness's neck, we'd expect to see bruising on the victim who was put into the collar more recently than Mr. DeRossi. Indeed, that is most peculiar. But what do we tell you, huh? We say this from the beginning many times. Oui, Peppino is right. Some man in the photograph is someone different to the man we held captive that night. Order! It would appear then that on the day before the incident, the man who visited the park on Lime Street posing as an incognito inspector was not Inspector Gregson at all. If that's true, however, how do you explain the inspector's identification? This is a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard. It's inconceivable that someone could have stolen such an important item from the inspector. The prosecution made that assertion itself.
And we also know that the inspector had made a note about the Red-Headed League in his diary for that day, which surely means we can't divorce the two events completely.
The inconsistency noted by the defense is most troubling. If it were the real Inspector Gregson whom these two red-headed gentlemen encountered, the fact that no bruising can be seen around his neck defies explanation. But equally, if they actually encountered an imposter, how did that person come to be in possession of the real inspector's identification? Does the defense have some plausible explanation, counsel? The whole thing defies explanation.
It is for precisely these occasions that we keep meticulous notes in the court record, Mr. Naruhodo, because those are the facts, and the facts cannot lie.
No, the facts can't lie. Even when they point to something so incredible, it's almost unbelievable. Well, my lord, the true identity of the person who turned up in the park for the Red-Headed League's enrollment is revealed by information in the court record, I believe. Good gracious! Very tantalizing, Mr. Naruhodo. So why don't you help us all to see whatever the truth it is that you've apparently seen? Who exactly was this inspector that appeared before Mr. de Rousseau and Mr. de Rossi?
An imposter! Something, something among us joke, something, something.
Though it seems incredible, I admit the undeniable facts point to only one thing. Since no bruising can be seen on the victim's neck, the person who these two red-headed men took prisoner that day cannot have been Inspector Gregson. In other words, your whole argument up to now has been a waste of time.
Objection!
On the contrary, I haven't finished. What? There's no bruising on the victim's neck, so the question immediately posed next is, who exactly was this man in the park on Lime Street found to be carrying Inspector Gregson's identification?
See, that's alright, we tell the same story every time. Whoever this man was, the couple dragged him from a pillar to a post with a dog collar.
Not you, Peppino. I was not so harsh as you say, huh?
So who was that false inspector, eh? Who was he?
Clearly the defense has an idea about that. About the true identity of the man these two imprisoned that night. I must ask the counsel for the defense to elaborate post-haste. Who did the witnesses encounter in the park posing as Inspector Gregson?
We already know. Bam, 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 bam. Look, it's even in his art. Look at it.
Take that!
Goodness me, isn't that one of the witnesses who was in the stand in this very courtroom earlier today? A nameless man whose only occupation appears to be peddling hearsay to passerby.
Objection!
What on earth would a street seller be doing with a police inspector's identification papers? Witnesses, is this the man or not? What has happened to his lip? Huh?
I see, this man is not for the Red Headed League, guy. He's looking for the Twisted Lip League, no?
Perhaps rather than making such a rash claim next time, you should bite your lip instead. It seems improbable, yes, but one undeniable fact remains. During his testimony earlier, I noted something around the man's neck. A red ring of bruising. Huh? What? The defense demands that Mr. Goss be brought back to the stand. Order! Order! Bailiff! Bring the aforementioned witness back into the courtroom immediately.
Yep, it's identical.
Well, I never! An undeniable ring of bruising indeed, and identical to that of the witness beside him. Now what's going on here, eh? I've always had this me. It's a birthmark, innit? A birthmark, you say? I assume the reason you've been recalled to the stand has been explained to you. Some about an inspector again. But I'm telling you, you've got it all wrong as usual. You're denying all knowledge of it? Well, of course I am. Are you trying to kill me with all this nonsense, eh? Well, at least you'll have more stories to peddle back on Fresno Street, won't you? Now, we're going to need you to testify again. And you, Mr. de Rousseau and Mr. de Rossi, I'm sure you'll cooperate, won't you? Do we have any choice? We are in a big trouble, couple. That's quite enough dilatory chatter. Proceed with the testimony.
The inspector and identification revisited.
The man who claimed to be an inspector that day was definitely not this man. It's right, see, you think we could forget those grand lips, huh? I never leave Fresno Street, alright? I've no interest in any red-headed league. I'm all alone in the world, me. I'm no kinfolk or nothing. Why'd I be involved in something like that? Just look at me, eh? Does it look like I could carry off a disguise with a face like this?
If that face is the disguise, potentially.
It would certainly appear that we have the wrong man. What have I been telling you, There was no need for this pointless testimony.
That's right, I'm just a simple peddler, remember? Fresno Street's all I know. How would I have come by? A police inspector's identification book, eh?
Well, yes, that's hard to explain, but...
A brief cross-examination, I think, counsel. Very brief.
Isn't there anyone in this courtroom who thinks I might be onto something?
I stand steadfastly at your side as always, Mr. Naruhodo. Thank you, Susato. You're the real one. Susato got me. If nobody got me, I know Susato got me. There we go. Alright, as usual. Press everything.
Hold it!
So you say, but how can you be quite so certain?
There is no need to put your hands on the desk, monsieur. Surely the reason is obvious, no?
Because I have never before seen lips like this. Nevertheless, there's a clear red mark around Mr. Gossip's neck. And it looks very much like that left behind on the neck of your colleague by your prized collar. Mon Dieu, what's your words? It is like you tried to wring my neck.
It does look very much like a my neck, though, eh? No, there's a birthmark, lad. The biggest lips in London and a neck to die for. Aye, they broke the mold when they made me. For the first time in my life. I feel lucky to have been born with red hair.
And I thought being Japanese made you stand out in London. So you maintain that you've never seen this man before?
No way, Sika. I swear to buy the flames with my hair.
So fierce pride has outgrown the frustration with your hair now, has it?
Is right, so you think we would forget these grand lips, huh?
Well, yes, I don't imagine I'll forget those lips in a hurry either.
That's what I was saying. For some reason, that makes me want to eat, how did Fabian call it? An eclair? No. I've never seen the hair as black as yours before either.
Likewise, I'd never seen red hair like yours until I came to Britain.
See, maybe it's a national trait, huh? Or maybe all the people from this immense country have the grand lips.
No, lad, I was born right here on Fresno Street. I've never left.
How far that is a problem, see?
So you definitely didn't go to the park on Lime Street that day, Mr. Gossip?
How many times do you want me to say it, eh? I never leave Fresno Street, alright? I have no interest in any red-headed league.
Hold it!
So, you'd heard of the Red-Headed League, had you?
You don't get a name like Gossip for nothing, eh? It's my business to know what's going on in town. I sold that tasty tidbit to a fair few redheads that came past me. Just between us, I even got a sandwich to cop up for it. Well, he does have a very red nose, if that counts.
Who knows?
As you can see, that my own hair's not got a hint of red in it. In any case, Fresno Street's my patch. You won't catch me settling off to some other part of town. No, sir, not likely.
Excuse me.
What do you have to say, huh?
Mr. Deverso. Oui. Can I help you? Did Mr. Gossip's word just now lead you to remember something relevant, perhaps? It was the other day, when I was looking for a place near the park, a small house or something. To be the headquarters of your Red-Headed League, yes. I visited an housing agent on Lime Street, and there I saw him. This man was paying money to the agent.
What?
Mr. Gossip with the housing agent? Oui. He had some kind of contract in his hand, and they were clearly discussing terms.
But no, you're mistaken, chum. I never left Fresno Street, me, like I said before. You're mistaking me for someone else. Someone with the same face.
And no, the couple is right. I remember it too. He was paying the man with the banknotes.
With notes?
Like I said, that wasn't me.
I was curious as to why this man with the dirty clothes had so much money, so I looked at the name on the papers.
And what name was written? Mr. Gossip?
No, this is a man, he lies. He tells you that he has no name. But in fact, his name is Hugh Boone. It's better than Mr. Gossip, I think, see? It's all coming together.
No!
I'm a peddler of tidbits of information, like I said, on Fresno Street, and that's that. I don't much like folk talking about my personal life.
Indeed. And it is not the intention of the court to invade the privacy of witnesses. Very well. I shall respect your wishes, sir. The aforementioned name shall be redacted from all court records of this trial, assuming no objection.
Objection!
Oh, I have a big one! I'm sorry, my lord, but the defense does object. Because the name just mentioned has a very deep significance to this case. Good gracious, do you similarly object, Prosecutor Asugi? As it happens, my lord, that particular name has already been mentioned during today's proceedings. Well, I never. In what capacity?
Hugh Boone. The name of the leaseholder of the room.
Let me put this very simply. The victim's body was discovered in your rented room. I suggest, sir, that you start talking.
Well, alright. I suppose that might be the case, eh?
So your real name is Hugh Boone.
Well, just between us, I don't like to blow my own trumpet, but there's no finer peddler of tidbits in town. So I happen to be able to afford a grubby little room in a falling down backstreet townhouse.
You do?
And once every 6 months, I go and pay the rent to the agent on Lime Street. I remember now. There were 2 vulgar redheads in there last time. Aye?
If either of us is a vulgar, it's not to me. Sink again, Peppino.
Why didn't you bring this up before?
It's like I told you already. I don't like talking about my personal life. I'm a tidbit peddler as far as everyone else is concerned. No fuss.
You will update your testimony to include this most surprising revelation, Mr. Boone.
If I must.
So the leaseholder Scotland Yard has been looking for since the body was discovered has been here under our noses all along.
I rent the room where that fellow was found, it's true. What difference it makes.
Okay, well we're gonna press
Hold
that.
it!
So, you live in that room presumably, do you?
No, I don't live there. What do you think? There's no bed, is there? Just a desk.
Then why would you want to rent it?
Well, I don't think I should have to say, really.
Then how about the notice board in there? Which was covered from top to bottom in confidential documents only the police should have had access to.
No, that board's not mine. The inspector must have brought it along. It's all the other bits and bobs that belong to me. The desk and the chair and that.
People don't generally carry enormous notice boards around with them. The real question is, why was Inspector Gregson killed there, in your room?
Well, obviously, I've not the faintest idea. I mean, it's causing me no end of bother, to be honest. It seems to me that Mr. Gossip, sorry, Mr. Boone, but rather as little is known about his room as possible for some reason.
Yes, it does come across that way. And more importantly, knowing that the scene of the crime is actually his room completely changes things. In particular, there's one part of his testimony that's really bothering me now. That's how I'm finally going to undo this man.
All in the world, I know exactly what we're going to press on with this. It's gonna be the portrait, but I'm gonna press everything anyway.
You mean you have no family?
No, not at all. Also, I spend my days on Fresno Street peddling tidbits to passerby. Hoping, just between us this is, that eventually someone else with lips like mine will come along. I don't think so. You may be right.
Anyway, that mark on your neck is just too much of a coincidence for us to ignore.
Well, what's a fellow to do then, eh? If you don't believe me, we're at an impasse. There's nothing I can do but flick me lip.
Looks like I'm not going to get anywhere here unless I can produce some proof.
You're basically saying I got dressed up and posed as some fancy inspector, are you? Well, it's beyond me how you think I could do that. Just look at me. It doesn't look like you can carry off a disguise with a face like this.
Maybe you could, say, with a mustache or beard to cover up that lip.
Aye, perhaps. But if I was going to stick some fake facial hair on to cover up this fine specimen, I'd end up looking like his lordship over there, wouldn't I?
Pardon? I assure you my lips are entirely unremarkable. And I would ask you not to cast such scrutinizing looks in my direction, Counsel. Sorry, my lord. My imagination got the better of me there.
Well, Inspector Gregson did wear a mustache, of course.
You're right, he did. So perhaps he was hiding something himself. He could barely have hidden a crumb in a mustache of that size.
And anyways, the detective we spoke with had no facial hair at all. See, the capo is right. He was a clean shaven.
It certainly seems beyond the realm's possibility that this witness could have disguised himself as the victim.
Aye, it does and it is.
That's the extent of their testimony, is it?
What's your feeling, Mr. Naruhodo?
Well, what Mr. Boone says is undeniable. It would be all but impossible to hide those lips with any form of disguise.
And perhaps yes, but nevertheless, the mark around his neck is equally undeniable. And it's identical to the one that Mr. DeRossi suffered.
Yes, that's true. But why does this whole disguise idea just keep playing in my mind? Because his face is the disguise! Oh, I'm so good at this.
Alright, we're going... You have a photograph that's very important, don't you? Of a beautiful young woman who is now just as beautiful a couple years later. Maybe not a couple years, probably more. 10 years, maybe? Oh well, whatever. Present.
Objection!
If you have no kinfolk, as you put it, then explain why it is that among this bar's furnishings, we found this photograph in the room. Ah, I presume, as you've been renting the room, that this photograph belongs to you, does it not? Oh, well. Mr. Boone, drop the pretense and tell the court exactly who you really are.
I don't know what you mean. I'm a peddler. I keep telling you so.
You really don't need to bother with me.
Just leave it alone.
As the man says, leave it alone. Whatever the truth is about this man's life, it has no bearing on this case. Because it's simply not possible that he impersonated Inspector Gregson. How can you be so sure? Just look at the man. No amount of disguise could ever hide those unmissable features. But what if we were to look at this the other way around? What do you mean? Yes, Counsel, what do you mean? Well, there's no denying that Mr. Boone's lip is very prominent indeed. But consider the possibility that his prominent lip is itself part of an elaborate disguise. Then hiding that prominent feature, in other words, revealing his true face, would make an utterly impenetrable disguise. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Hugh Boone?
I love how they introduced that quieter build up to the main objection theme. Oh, that's nice. I'm sorry, it's very hype. I love hearing the trumpets playing.
Good witness, are you still hiding the truth from this court?
If that's a disguise, then underneath it, his true identity must be.
Yes, that's right. There's really only one person he could really be. My lord, the defense believes it can reveal Mr. Boone's true identity to the court.
No, please.
No. Very well then, counsel. What is the true identity of this peddler who goes simply by the name of Gossip on the street?
We know exactly who it's gonna be. It's Daily Vigil.
Take that!
Your real name is actually Mr. Vigil, isn't it? Mr. Daily Vigil. Yeah! I don't recall that name, counsel. Who is this Mr. Vigil? It's a name I encountered yesterday, my lord. It has to do with a certain client of Mr. Herlock Sholmes. A young gentlewoman came to the detective, asking him to locate her missing husband. The woman in this photograph, in fact, This is Mrs. Vigil. What? From what I understand, you haven't returned home since the night before the inspector was found dead. But of course, on that night, you were being held captive by the two Red-Headed League men. And last night, you were put up by the prosecution service in preparation for testifying in this trial. Because we've been led to believe that you, Miss Venus, and Mrs. Sandwich were all homeless. Being important witnesses in this case, we needed to know where we could find you, of course. And that explains why you've not only been unable to return home, but also unable to contact your wife, who's been beside herself with worry, waiting for you at the Vigil residence.
Now, just you hold on a minute. I don't have the first idea.
What I'm talking about? Really? It's a simple enough matter to confirm my suspicions. All we have to do is pull off that disguise.
No, please.
Bailiff, bring soap, a sponge, and a washbowl at once. Mr. de Rousseau, Mr. de Rossi, you will restrain the witness.
Oh, wait, my lord. Say, my lord. No! Stop! Get off, please! Don't!
I was right!
It genuinely was only because I noticed how the hair curled in the same way. Yeah, I'm very pleasantly surprised. For once, I was on target with something nice. I guess it just means that the game did a good job signposting it. Well, we are now seeing your true features, I presume. Oh, they got him a fresh change of clothes too, I guess.
Lift your head, sir, so the court can see your face.
It would appear the defense counsel's assertion was entirely correct. This has all been a very elaborate deception. So, witnesses, tell the court, have you seen this man before?
I don't believe it, but... see! There is no question. This is the inspector we saw in the park. Extraordinary!
On the day of the Red-Headed League enrollment, the man claiming to be Inspector Gregson who appeared before Mr. de Rousseau and Mr. de Rossi in the park was you, disguised as the inspector, or rather, was you posing as the inspector in no disguise at all. Mr. Vigil was formerly employed as the chief warder at Barclay Prison. The chief warder? Then your career had promise. Why, you would quite possibly become the future governor of the prison. What on earth have you been doing peddling tittle-tattle on Fresno Street? Well, it's been 10 years since Mr. Vigil worked at the prison. 10 years. I'm really dreadfully sorry about all of this. Yes, it's true. I am daily vigil. And you were chief warder of Barclay Prison 10 years ago. So where did Mr. Hugh Boone come from? Boone is the other me. It's a name I invented. Well, evidently there's a great deal under the surface here. I'll explain everything. I'll tell you just how wretched my life has become. As you say, it was 10 years ago now that my employment at Barclay's chief warder came to an end. Having left the prison service, I searched for some new occupation by which to earn a wage. But times were hard in London, and I found no suitable engagements at all. In desperation one day, I turned my hand at selling wares on Fresno Street. But your wife appears to know nothing about this. She still maintains that you're the chief warder at Barclay Prison. I was utterly determined that my wife should not know of my failings, which is why I've never told her. I opened an account at the bank under the name of Hugh Boone, and I rented the cheapest room I could find on Fresno Street. The scene of the very crime we're investigating. Yes, that's right. A place from which I can emerge every morning at 8 as a squalid peddler, and transform myself back every evening at 5 into a well-dressed man about town before returning home. That quickly became my daily routine. I was puzzled by the lack of furniture in the room, but that explains it. But why on earth didn't you just tell us this in the first place? I have a wife, sir, and 2 sons. Without wishing to sound self-conceited, they regard me with some pride. I couldn't bring myself to disappoint them. So instead you decide to conceal your occupation from them? Yes? I have made such a terrible mess of everything. Still, one thing doesn't add up. No matter how many tidbits of information you could sell to passing gentlemen, even at 6 pence apiece, you couldn't hope to match the salary you must have commanded as chief warder at the prison. Very true. To have kept your family in comfort despite 10 years of somewhat misbegotten employment. That was all thanks to Inspector Gregson. What? Inspector Gregson? What on earth? It was some years after I'd invented Boone and begun my other life as a street seller. He, the inspector that is, recognized me one day. Do you mean to say the victim was an acquaintance of yours? I knew him from my time working at the prison. When he saw what I'd become, he was deeply troubled for me and my family. And from that day forward, he visited me on Fresno Street with increasing regularity. Then one day, he asked me if I would carry out a secret assignment for him. A secret? What was it? I was to impersonate the inspector. What? Impersonate him?
We always met in that little room so the inspector could brief me.
Oh gosh, this would be in Gregson's voice. Visit all sees tomorrow and take a statement from the proprietress. It was always something along those lines. Surveillance work, interviewing people. On those occasions, he would lend me his identification so people would believe who I was. My instructions were to make an impression, so that people know that Inspector Gregson had been at work. And for those services, he compensated me financially. A Scotland Yard inspector willingly relinquished his identification into your care with intent to deceive. That, as I'm sure I need not point out, is a very serious criminal offense. But why? What was the point of you impersonating him? I truthfully do not know. All I can say is that the inspector warned me on numerous occasions. Now remember, Vigil, I need your solemn word. You don't blab about this to anyone, alright? Ever. Even if I end up a croaker. In time, he started to bring papers with him into the room as well. It became something of a second office for him. So, in fact, the person who declared himself to be Inspector Gregson at the park on Lime Street was really... Yes, it was me, acting on the inspector's orders. As usual, I removed my Boone disguise and then went as instructed to the park, armed with the inspector's identification book. It never occurred to me that the bruise on my neck might give me away.
Well, now I don't believe that he'd kill him. Who the fuck did it? When I was going at this from the angle that he had a personal vendetta against, like, the Reaper or somebody associated with the prison case, the professor case, and that's why he's been doing all this, then it kind of made sense. But if he was working with Gregson, he has no reason to kill him. Not even if they got into a fight. So then what happened to Gregson?
Well, it would seem this confession completely destroys the defense's case. Explain yourself, Prosecutor Asugi. My letter friend's assertion was as follows. The victim was killed at another location on the day before his corpse was discovered, at the hands of these two Red-Headed League men when they imprisoned the inspector.
Hurting his hands.
But no, that can't be. After all, it wasn't the inspector who went to the park that day, it was me.
Oh, goodness. Finally, we have clarity.
We had nothing to do with the murder of the inspector.
And merci, Monsieur de la Defense, for proving it.
What? Ah! Order! Indeed, it would appear that we have reached a de facto conclusion of sorts. These witnesses had no involvement in the murder of the victim. As proven, somewhat ironically, by the defense. Oh. I hereby call an end to the cross-examination.
Hold it!
Is that Cosmo?
What is your game here? I know you want the truth. I know that's why you're prosecuting this case. But... unless you think he has some sort of insight into Gregson's movements that day that we could try and pull from him, then I can see why you're objecting. I guess we'll just find out.
Pardon me, my lord, but with your permission, I would like to pose one further question to the witness. Kazuma? What question, counsel? It concerns the events of 10 years ago. I believe you would have been present at a very significant execution that was carried out at the time. 10 years ago? The execution of Professor Genshin Osogi. I want to know exactly what your involvement was. Oh, answer me, man. One moment, counsel. Is this related to the current case? Naturally. It is the prosecution's belief that this case and the events of 10 years ago are inextricably linked. Does the defense concur, counsel? Kazuma, you're not yourself. You're not as calm and collected as usual.
Poor Kazuma-sama. No wonder he's acting this way. Mr. Vigil's memories of what happened 10 years ago would tell the tale of Genshin Hosogi's last moments. His own father.
I know. I do understand that, but even so... Prosecutor Asugi, do you genuinely believe that this question requires an answer in order to learn the truth behind Inspector Gregson's death? I need you to trust me. Please. Very well. Then the defense has no objection. I see. In that case, you will answer the question, witness. The truth is, I remember very little of that time. You've forgotten? I'm sorry to say, yes. As I said, I resigned from my role at the prison 10 years ago. But for some peculiar reason, my memory of the events leading up to that moment is extremely hazy. Oh. So he wasn't in on the escape attempt. He was manipulated into it, maybe.
Does that not strike you as strange, Mr. Naruto?
Sorry?
Well, 10 years is a long time, but to have forgotten the reason why he left such an important job?
Yes, you're right. And not only that, Mr. Vigil's claim contradicts what we already know. The human spirit is a fragile thing. It's broken all too easily, which is why we have a tendency to wrap it up for protection. Sorry? The human spirit? I'm afraid I don't understand what you mean. When we experience pain and suffering that we feel unable to bear, we block it out, obliterate it from our memories, seal it away. But it never truly leaves us. If the seal is broken, the memories resurface, and when they do, that fragile spirit may finally be crushed. But I really don't. Kazuma-sama? But if it must be crushed, then so be it, because the truth will not stay buried. It's coming out one way or another. Right. Now I understand. It's clear what his intentions are. He means to expose the truth at any cost. Perhaps if I pointed out the contradiction in what Mr. Vigil claimed earlier, it might cause some crucial memories to return to him. But should I? Should I present the evidence or not?
I feel like the answer to a question like this is always do it. I'm gonna say do it.
I have no idea how this is going to go, but this is a court of law, and I have a duty to pursue the truth. Mr. Vigil, I'd like you to look at this. Evidence that clearly contradicts your version of events.
Take that!
Just a few moments ago, you made the following statement. I resigned from my role at the prison 10 years ago. Well, yes. In other words, you claim to have left the post of Chief Warder of your own volition. Well, yes, of course. Why? Tell me. Do you remember seeing this document before? No, I don't. This is the dismissal notice ordering the immediate termination of a prison staff member's employment. A dismissal notice? And the name on the notice is yours, Mr. Vigil. What? What? It's mine? So you didn't resign from the prison service at all. For some reason, you were dismissed as Chief Warder from Barclay. No, there's been some mistake. I'm sure. I'm sure I tendered my resignation. This dismissal notice is nonsense. Isn't it? If you're forcibly dismissed, there must have been good reason. Clearly, you did something. Mr. Vigil, it's time to break the seal and have you remember. According to the few remaining records, the final execution that you supervised was on the 17th of June, 10 years ago. And on that day, something very serious took place at Barclay Prison. The 17th of June. Was that? The professor's execution. Professor? As you were the chief warder at the time, it stands to reason that you would have been present throughout the proceedings. It does sound familiar. And yet, that execution never took place. The convict ostensibly executed earlier that day later reemerged from his grave. The convict came back to life? In the cemetery in the middle of the night, there was a witness.
However, the witness claims that a moment after he saw the convict clambering out of his grave, a gunshot rang out from over his shoulder, and the bullet pierced the professor's chest, killing him instantly. Those may have been the professor's actual last moments.
Yes. Seeing as you were in charge of overseeing executions at the time, you must know the truth about what really happened. It's in your head, somewhere deep down. Well, Chief Warder Daily Vigil, I know there are memories in your head that can explain what happened on the 17th of June 10 years ago, and now it's time for you to drag them up. Mr. Vigil? Yes. reason. It was complete chaos. The prisoner escaped. He was killed in the cemetery. The shocking news ripped through Barclay like a hurricane. What? Order! Do you mean to say, Mr. Vigil, that your memories of the time have returned? My head, it's like some floodgates have been opened. The images, the screams. Oh, my goodness. The papers. There were reports, articles about a man who'd seen a ghost. Yes, Enoch Drebber. But surely those reports were exaggerated. There were traces at the scene. Traces of what? In Lowgate Cemetery, at plot number 139. Blood, lots of blood. That's where the man was buried, of course. Obviously, something terrible had happened there. The depths of conspiracy and depravity from which this tale is emerging are quite staggering. I've reviewed the police records from that time extensively. A thorough investigation was conducted by Scotland Yard to ascertain how the convict managed to escape in the first place. And the conclusion reached by the investigating team was that a member of the prison staff must have been involved. Are you suggesting that a prison warder abetted the man's bid for freedom? Yes, and I was suspected of doing it, of using that mass murderer's execution as a way to help him escape. You did what? I remember now. The horror of it all is coming back to me. One evening, a few days after the execution, some detectives came to the prison. I was called to the governor's office at the top of the watchtower. I'm sorry, Delio, this is a serious business, but I couldn't help you know. As chief warder, you're responsible for overseeing the execution of 4, right? Well, it seems the fellows at Scotland Yard want to have a few wee words with you about it. You better pack your things, laddie. You're to attend in person. As soon as he told me that, my mind just went completely blank. And the next thing I knew, The professor, the most hated killer in our country's history. Or is that meant to be us? And I let him escape. I'm finished. My life is over. Oh my god. Oh my. Watch, this was all a bad ending, and I picked the wrong choice. Oops! Order! Order! Bailiff, fetch a doctor at once! Court is adjourned for today with immediate effect.
So, with Mr. Vigil's collapse, proceedings came to an abrupt end for the day. Once again overshadowed by the legacy of that notorious killer, appearing like a cursed ghost ship on a foggy ocean. Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Vigil, Kazuma, and Gregson. All of them bound by invisible chains anchored to the same wreckage in the murky depths of the past. But the miraculous light that had been trying to cut through the gloom and shine on those tragic events was playing on the edges of the truth at last.
Love the metaphor going on there. Very nice writing. I still don't think he killed Gregson, which means there must be someone else, but I have no fucking clue where to go from here. Second of November, 3:38 p.m. Sholmes' suite.
I still can't quite believe what just happened.
I know. I inquired with the bailiff after the court session was adjourned, and it seems Mr. Vigil was taken to hospital to recover.
Right. 10 years ago now, Mr. Vigil attempted to commit suicide by jumping out of the window of the prison governor's office. But ever since then, he's completely blocked the memory of those events from his mind. Nobody knew his secret. Not his family, not even the man himself. But I forced it out into the open. Was it wrong of me to do that? Did I overstep the mark, I wonder?
Bruno!
Oh, Iris!
You were miles away! Anyway, I brewed a fresh pot of soothing tea for you.
Oh, thank you.
You and Susie have had an exhausting day so far, haven't you?
Oh!
Thank you, Iris. How thoughtful of you.
Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is? When we came out of the courtroom back into the defendant's antechamber, he disappeared.
Oh, no, I don't know. He just suddenly sprang to his feet and left. All he said was, "I must leave!" I wonder if he's pursuing the mystery of Inspector Gregson's death. Well, you know what Hurley's always saying, don't you? There are many mysteries in this world that should perhaps never be solved. For the construction of a solution comes only at the expense of the destruction of something else.
What does that mean?
He knows very well that when you open someone else's old wounds, you often open your own too. But he just can't take his own advice and leave well alone. Solving mysteries is too important to him.
That's so true.
Well, that's what I like about Hurley, after all.
I suppose that's the lot of a great detective in some ways.
So then, let's have tea, and then I'll give you a hand.
Oh, do you have time, Iris?
Yes, I finished this month's manuscript at last, with barely a day to spare before the deadline. Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. A brand new story to read in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. You know, I always hide Hurley's violin the days before I have a deadline.
You do? Poor Mr. Sholmes.
I'm sure that's very wise, Iris. How sensible of you. Now then, my dear fellows, let's make a plan of action before we continue our investigation. Okay, I'm assuming all of the investigates... Oh, they have not reset. Nice. Okay, excellent. This morning's trial. So, how'd it go in court this morning?
Well, we still don't know the truth about what really happened, but one thing's increasingly clear. Lord Van Zieks definitely didn't do it.
Oh, goody! Yes, that's right. We managed to uncover several new facts as well. Oh, really?
And there was another development too. Cosima.
Yes, it's quite clear now that Cosmo-sama is not himself. The way he's acting, it's almost as if he's possessed.
I know. I mean, at the end of the proceedings earlier, he was like a bloodhound the way he was chasing down Mr. Vigil's forgotten past. He's not normally so mercilessly persistent.
Is that on purpose? Calling him a bloodhound when his dad used a dog to kill people? Runosuke, how dare you?
What's going on in his head, I wonder? I really need to sit down with Cosima and try to understand what he's going through.
And the Reaper's innocence.
If Gregson was really murdered the day before his body was discovered, then Lord Van Zieks has to be innocent, you see.
What? The day before? Well, that should be easy enough to work out, just by examining the corpse, surely. Yes, you would expect so, but curiously, no time of death was included in the autopsy report. That is curious.
There are still unanswered questions about Lord Van Zieks, though, aren't there?
Do you mean?
I mean, what was he doing there on Fresno Street that day in the first place?
Well, according to the man's testimony, he said he was investigating Inspector Gregson, didn't he?
And it turns out that little room was actually the inspector's secret office.
Oh, that sounds like it's all the makings of a wonderfully devilish plot.
But then why was that notice board in there covered in all those particular papers? Papers about cases with a link to the Reaper. I'm starting to get a bad feeling about all this.
fear, that sounds more like something horribly devilish. We must start by looking into Inspector Gregson's movements of late.
Gregson's movements. I never imagined I might have to be investigating an inspector's movements.
Well, according to the entry in his diary, he was carrying out an incognito investigation of the Red-Headed League the day before his death. Oh, you mean he was doing the same as Hurley?
Well, Mr. Sholmes was trying to apply, whereas the inspector was supposed to be investigating.
I do wish it had been the other way around.
Anyway, as it turns out, the inspector who went to investigate the Red-Headed League that day wasn't actually Gregson at all. It was Mr. Vigil in possession of Gregson's identification.
You know what that sounds like to me? Establishing an alibi. Oh my! Yes, you're absolutely right, Iris.
But why would Gregson need an alibi?
It would appear that the inspector had something to do that he wished to keep secret. I don't believe it. I always thought he was just a harmless lover of fish and chips.
But perhaps they were seasoned with something a little bit more potent than salt and vinegar.
I think perhaps we should try to move away from food analogies.
Well, anyway, if Lord Van Zieks felt the need to investigate Gregson...
Yes, I agree. We must try to find out what he knows. And finally, Mr. Vigil's condition. Vigil, you say? Isn't that the name of the lady who came to visit Hurley yesterday? That's right. To ask Mr. Sholmes if he would help her to find her missing husband.
Only Mr. Sholmes completely passed the buck to us. Actually, didn't you say that Mr. Vigil had been taken to a hospital? Do you know which one?
Ah, it's St. Sinner's.
I'm starting to wonder if all the other hospitals in London have closed down.
But that's amazing, Runo! You found the lady's husband already!
Well, I suppose I have, by accident.
And 10 years ago, while Mr. Vigil was the chief warder at the prison, he was responsible for overseeing the professor's incarceration. No!
So when the convict escaped, he was held responsible and immediately dismissed.
Oh, sometimes I really don't want to grow up.
There's more. For 10 years after that, while he was ostensibly working as a peddler, he also had another secret job. He was paid by Gregson to be his stand-in, to impersonate the inspector.
To impersonate Gregsy? But why?
I have absolutely no idea.
Oh, Ginny was right. I'm starting to think all of those are up to no good now. Including you, Runo.
I haven't paid anyone to impersonate me.
That means he has ties to the professor and to Inspector Gregson, though. So I do think we ought to pay a visit to Mr. Vigil, don't you?
Back to St. Sinner's, then.
Well, I think it's what we need to do, isn't it? Let us investigate, my dear fellows! Oh, Iris, you're even more enthusiastic than usual today. If anyone has anything to hide, my special Wilson shooting iron will soon set them straight.
That water pistol?
It's stuffed full of a piping hot, extra special blend of mine. Oh, then I'm quite sure it'll be very effective.
I'd better be careful not to hide anything. Well, it feels a little strange that Mr. Sholmes is nowhere to be seen, but still. Let's go and see what we can find out. Yes!
Can't go to the hotel or the governor's office. We haven't been up here in a little bit. Let's do a little bit of examining real quick. 2nd November, Naruhodo's legal consultancy office. Oh, nice. This is just like what you normally get to do, where you can like ask your assistant for advice. Okay. Oh, her stuff is set back up. Okay. That was nice to see. Alright, let's move. Where to start? Let's start with Lord Van Zieks. Hi! 2nd November, a local prison, cell 1. Lord Van Zieks is reading, look. He doesn't seem like he wants visitors, does he?
But he must have noticed that we're here, surely.
Hey! Look at us! Hey, look at me, look at me. bitch. I was waiting for him to pop up on screen and look at us.
What do you Nipponese want? That's no way to greet the lawyer who's trying his hardest to prove your innocence, is it? Perhaps not. Huh? I apologize. So, what can I do for you, Mr. Naruhodo?
Lord Van Zeek, speaking earnestly.
Oh, the fog will lift over London for the first time in months tomorrow.
This does feel very, very strange.
Gay, homosexual, gay.
I must say I was impressed. Oh, well, thank you. Not by you. By your fellow Nipponese, your prosecutor friend. Oh, I see, yes. It's sardonic, don't you think? For a man such as me, so loathing of the Nipponese, to be entirely at the mercy of the two of you. I suppose it's retribution for having played the part of the Reaper all these years. Played the part? I'm sorry. You once told me that you gladly allowed people to believe you were the Reaper, because it helped reduce the amount of serious crime that took place in London. If keeping quiet and playing the part benefits the cause, a cause I myself am committed to pursuing, then why would I choose to say anything? But the henchman of a criminal killed by the Reaper attacked you only the other day, and that was just the most recent of many attempts on your life, wasn't it? Someone is clearly profiting from your signs about all this. Someone is using you. Believe me, ever since the Reaper first appeared, I've been doing my utmost to expose him. Or rather, expose the organization.
Oh. So I was off the mark about Vigil being an assassin for hire, but maybe I was not off the mark about there being like a group of assassins contributing to the Reaper status. Okay. It's a whole organization?
It's inconceivable that all those accidents were orchestrated by one man. No. The Reaper always appears to have very accurate information about the accused in each case, which can only mean that somebody at Scotland Yard is involved.
Someone at... You can't mean!
It's taken me many years, but I finally identified the central figure in this Reaper organization. Tobias Gregson.
No, that can't be the case. He was worried about Gina. No!
Gregson, the Reaper? So, the reason you were investigating Inspector Gregson is because you intended to expose him as the Reaper. As I said, the Reaper of the Bailey is no single person. It's a highly secret organization with close ties to Scotland Yard. But there's no doubt that Gregson was a key member of that organization.
I don't believe it.
Are you saying that Gregsy, that he was behind all those awful criminals meeting there?
Gregson didn't do the dirty work himself.
Oh?
He was a tactician. His job was to covertly investigate the marks and plot their assassinations. In order to do that without arousing suspicion, he regularly needed a firm alibi. Which is where Mr. Vigil came in, posing as the inspector. Vigil knows nothing of the Reaper, but the room he rents on Fresno Street was almost certainly the headquarters of the operation. Gregson would have met the assassin there for briefings.
Oh. Killed by his own assassin then? But no, that doesn't make sense. Why would he be so worried for Gina then? Why would he be trying to transfer away? That doesn't make any sense. Was he another pawn?
So then we don't actually know who carried out the killings then. Actually, I do have a name. You what?
If you can name the man, you have the true identity of the Reaper already then.
Or if I can name the woman.
Oh?
She's a young woman by the name of Asa
assassin. Oh.
Of Asa Shin. Wait, what? Wait, no, that's Miss Brett. Huh? Hang on. McGilda died at the hands of someone else. Okay. And then Natsume went back to his homeland. And then Gina has been here the whole time. We sent away Dr. Hairbrain. He doesn't know that she's dead, does he? That she was killed back in Japan. But why was she... Was she hunting down Natsume? No, she was there before Natsume even came back. I believe that she's the one who's been killing all these different people, but what I don't understand is... Why was she in Japan then? Okay. Wait, what? Shin? Miss Asa Shin. The true name of a terrifying killer I know only too well. She came to Japan posing as a visiting student and murdered Dr. John H. Wilson. Wait, so then did she go there specifically to kill Wilson? Just that? Was that it? What did Wilson know? Well, hang on. If he was Sholmes' assistant, then he would know about the professor case, wouldn't he? As does Sholmes, clearly, because of all of his stuff about, like, don't talk about the Hound of the Baskervilles. But then why haven't they killed Sholmes? If they're trying to cover people up and get rid of all the links to that professor case, then Sholmes would be the natural first target. Why is he still alive? And then just when it seemed that diplomatic protection would help her escape Japan and conviction, the mysterious woman was herself murdered in a small summer beach hut. And that woman was actually the Reaper of the Bailey? I don't know the plot no more. Same here, Heelbot! Everything's gone off the rails! Mr. Naruhodo, this perhaps isn't the place to discuss. No, of course not. We can't mention it here. The fact that she killed Dr. John H. Wilson. Because Iris doesn't know, and it's very likely that the man was her father. Asa Shin, I should let father know at once. Yes, I agree. What the fuck? What is happening? Kazuma, isn't it? Kazuma Asugi. You say he's a friend of yours. My best friend. He's the whole reason I got to come to Britain. It was all on his merits. I have nothing but respect for him. Yes, I understand that only the very best students are selected for such opportunities. And I had a fine demonstration of how sharp he is in the proceedings earlier today. He missed nothing. In fact, his flawless performance very much reminded me of his father. Genshin Asugi, the professor. It's true that the aristocracy at the time was the root of numerous grave societal problems. They were abusing their power, playing with the common man as pawns in politics, in economics, in war. In many ways, Asugi was carving out a canker from society that we British couldn't deal with ourselves. I see. But that's precisely why it makes no sense. Clint von Zieks was a noble and upstanding man. He wasn't corrupt. Why did that damned Nipponese have to go and take my brother's life? In spite of having once saved mine. He saved your life? How did that happen? It was 10 years ago, on a foggy night. What was to be the professor's final strike had sent a wave of panic through the capital. So Clint Van Zieks had already been killed at this point, then. Genshin and I were walking down some back streets at a late hour. Of course, at that point, I had no idea of the true nature of the man at my side. All of a sudden, Okay. Don't make a peep. You're coming with us. We were surrounded. All of our assailants were armed with pistols, their faces obscured by scarves. Clint was not only from noble heritage, he was a brilliant prosecutor as well. The scum of London hated the sight of him, and they had no sympathy for his younger brother either. I'd been targeted several times before already. Yeah, it's Venziek's alright, we got him. I could hear them murmuring amongst themselves. I knew they were after me, but just when I thought my time had come.
Oh gosh, what sort of voice to give the father?
If I let them kill you, Clint would never forgive me. It was Asugi's voice, just a whisper in my ear. After that, I don't remember exactly what happened. The next thing I knew, there was silence all around. Genshin lay on the cobbled street. Blood was seeping from his left hand. He'd shielded me. Two days later, they arrested him on suspicion of being London's most notorious mass murderer ever, the Professor.
How awful for you.
All at once, I lost the brother I revered and the foreign friend I held in such high regard. I'm so sorry, Lord Venzieks. That's the end of my miserable tale. I never thought I'd recount it to anyone. Well, thank you for confiding in me.
The Professor, the Reaper, and Inspector Gregson. I wonder just how intimately related they all are.
I still can't quite believe that Gregson was essentially the Reaper, giving assassination orders to Giselle Brett.
Mr. Naruhodo, let's go and inform my father. I'm sure our government will want to hear about this new information. Oh, that means I get to meet your daddy, Susie? Hooray!
Yes, alright. Let's head back to the Great Waterloo Hotel then. My god.
Is there anything I want to bother showing you? Not really, no. Back to the hotel. Oh, is he not gonna be here? 2nd November, Great Waterloo Hotel, foyer. I thought it yesterday, and I think it again today. This place is so princely.
It's a wild guess, but I have a feeling you'll think the same tomorrow, too.
My tea has a finer fragrance than whatever they're serving in the tea room here, though, wouldn't you say?
Ah, look what we have here. This is unexpected pleasure. Ah,
Father! Oh, is this your daddy, Susie? How lovely!
what a charming young lady. And you are? I'm Iris Wilson. Ah, really? So you're the author of The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, are you?
That's me, Iris Wilson, at your service, sir. Susie's been such a wonderful friend to me over the last year, you know.
Well, Miss Wilson, I must say I read your work regularly and with much interest.
Iris actually lives with Mr. Sholmes, you know, Father.
Is that so? Well, perhaps that goes some way to explaining that bright look in your eyes. You wouldn't be smiling so airily if you knew just how bright she is, believe me. Now then, young Naruhodo, it was a pleasure seeing you in action earlier. As an invitee to the symposium, I was allowed to observe from the gallery, after I twisted some arms. And I must say, it was a truly exemplary performance. Oh, well, thank you very much. Although I'm fairly sure you omitted by Kazuma on the end there. No, please don't misunderstand. It was you who impressed me. Really? You didn't miss a step against Asugi, and we all know how capable he is. Really, to have matured into such a fine defense lawyer in less than a year is quite extraordinary. It's very kind of you to say so, and really nice to hear. What I saw in court today confirmed what I've been hoping for. The favor I mentioned yesterday, Naruhodo. I trust you haven't forgotten? I have. Oh, no, you did mention something, didn't you?
But first, we have something to report, Father.
Right, he was going to ask us a favor and then he never got the chance. Okay, I remember now. Of course. Shall we take tea while we discuss the matters further? Huh. I wonder where Judge Jigoku has got to.
There we go. It loaded. I'm not gonna bother inspecting. I don't need to. Father, do you know about the so-called Reaper of the Bailey?
I've heard rumors. Some members of the judiciary explained it all to me yesterday. Of course, when I was a visiting student here in London, the Reaper was yet to emerge. Right, he didn't appear until after that case when the visiting students had already returned home. Lord Van Zieks, who was in the dock today, that was Barrack, the younger brother of Clint Van Zieks, I believe.
That's right. And he's known throughout London as the Reaper, as you've heard. But the truth is, it wasn't him behind all those mysterious deaths. It was somebody else.
I see. So what you're saying is, there's been a professional killer at work here. Exactly. Someone by the name of Assassin, in fact. I beg your pardon. Did you say Assassin? You mean that Giselle Brett woman who was responsible for killing my great friend? Uh-oh! Oh! Uh-oh! He didn't put two and two together. Okay.
Oh no, friend of yours was killed?
Professor Mikotaba, I think perhaps we shouldn't discuss this right now. Because the friend of the professor is talking about is Dr. John H. Wilson. And that's not something we want Iris to find out about. Not like this, anyway.
We're gonna talk about it anyway. Oops. I've just remembered something. Biscuits! This hotel has the most delicious looking biscuits.
That was rather out of the blue. She's doing this deliberately.
I think I'll go and see if I can purchase some. I wonder, would you like to come too, Iris?
Oh yes! You just try to leave me behind.
I was probably more like, you just try to leave me behind.
So that young girl is called Iris Wilson, is she? Yes, that's right. And she's the author of all this adventure stories starring the great detective Sholmes. But the name of the credited author isn't Iris, is it? It's Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, I know. That's the name of her father, you see. Her father? Dr. John H. Wilson. I was deeply indebted to the man for all the kindness he showed me during my time in London. That's why I was keen to reciprocate and invite him to the Imperial University 4 years ago. But he was murdered last year by Giselle Brett. Why? Why would they handle the Reaper stretch all the way to Japan? Iris knows nothing about that case, but it seems very likely that the victim, Dr. Wilson, was her father. Well, I can't say that we ever spoke about his family, so I don't know if he had a daughter or not. But I think I can say with some certainty that he was never the great detective's partner. So, it could have been another Dr. Wilson, you think? Well, John and Wilson are both common names after all. Still, it's probably best not to mention this to the young lady until we can be sure. That's what we thought, yeah.
We're back with cinnamon biscuits.
Oh, they smell delicious, Iris.
I think cinnamon will go very well with the tea they serve here. Don't you, Susie?
Yes, I'm sure you're right, Iris. Wait, but it's the same middle initial. John H. Wilson. Like, is he lying to us? That can't be. Shakes you by the shoulders. What the fuck is up with you, Mikotaba?
I haven't seen Judge Jigoku for a while, have you? Guilty! That guilty is still ringing in my ears. No, now that you mention it, I haven't seen him since this morning either. I suppose the symposium's opening was postponed. He'll have gone to explore the great exhibition.
That reminds me of something you mentioned yesterday. About Judge Jigoku having once been in the dock himself?
Ah, yes, he was all tied up with that accursed trial. The closed trial of Cosmo's father. Seishiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so he took to the stand to testify. But he got a little carried away and, actually managed to break the witness stand.
Oh my!
He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged. Oh dear. Although it's worryingly easy to imagine him doing that. Well, it was alright in the end. He was acquitted and we returned home to Japan together.
Thank goodness.
Ah, yes, talking of Seishiro. I have a copy of the photograph we all took together here yesterday. Please.
It is such a good picture. It's so cute. Look at them. You gotta love how everybody's suit is like glued to their chest. So you can see the defined like pectoral muscles and then some abs. Like it's especially prominent on Kazuma though. Like, did you see how those buttons were practically like glued to his chest?
Alright.
Oh, what a lovely picture.
The judge is an actual character? He is! It's the Japanese judge from our trial and Susato's trial. He came to visit as part of the big, like, international forensic science symposium. And he's a person. It certainly seems to shout we've arrived in Britain.
Come over to photograph. A photograph taken in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel on the morning of Professor Bikotoba and Judge Shigoku's arrival in London for the symposium.
None of us had any idea what was coming when we took that, did we?
No, that's so true. And the favor.
So, you mentioned a favor that you'd like to ask me? Well, this fateful trial that you're fighting, one way or another, it will be over before long. And when it is, I'd like you to accompany me back to Japan. Me? You want me to do...
What? Father? What's the meaning of this?
Now, Susato, you should understand. You've seen how our courts work firsthand. Japan's judicial system is in its infancy, especially when it comes to defense.
Oh, you mean?
The Supreme Court of Judicature is in desperate need of a good defense lawyer. As soon as possible. Really quite urgently, in fact. But I've not even been in London a year yet. I've read all of Susato's reports. I'm well aware of your extraordinary talents. And having seen you in action with my own eyes earlier today, there's no question. You, Naruto, are precisely the man our country needs. Damn, okay. Phoenix comes from quite the esteemed lineage then, huh?
So, you'd be leaving then, Uno? But then, what am I supposed to do, Father?
You came here to serve as Asuki's judicial assistant. Oh, yes, she's supposed to be Kazuma's assistant. Our government is still in the process of deciding how best to deal with his situation, though. You've always chosen your own path, Susato, and I trust your judgment. In this matter also.
Father?
Please, the pair of you, don't look so downcast. It's merely suggestion, you understand. A hope, if I'm honest. But I won't force you. All I ask is that you consider it, and come to a decision by the time this trial concludes. Yes, all right.
You won't leave, will you, Uno?
The thought hadn't even crossed my mind. Up until now, I've just been trying to do what I believe to be Kazuma's will. But it turns out that he's still alive, so where does that leave me?
No, it's okay. Don't have an identity crisis.
Well, if you'll excuse me now, I need to telegram government ministers and the Japanese police with this information about us as Shin.
Of course, Father. Thank you.
I look forward to next month's installment, Miss Wilson.
Oh, good! And please do come to Baker Street sometime, won't you? We'd love to entertain you.
I would be delighted. Best of luck for tomorrow, Naruhodo. And give my suggestion your full consideration, won't you? Yes, I will. Going back home.
There's a fifth case, so I assume we don't, but man. You know, Kazuma-sama has always meant a great deal to my father. I'm sure he'd love the chance to meet with him and talk to him about all this.
Yes, no doubt.
Assassin? Of course, it's so obvious.
Hi, Sholmes. When did you show up? How could I have neglected to consider the possibility before now? Mr. Sholmes?
Harley, where have you been?
Why, I joined you all for tea, of course. What an extraordinary question.
I didn't notice you at all.
No matter. Anyway, to more pressing concerns, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? I must dispatch a telegram to your country at once. It is a matter of much urgency. To Japan, you mean? Tell me, to whom can I entrust the task? Quickly now, who?
Well, my father has just now left to send a telegram to the Imperial Police Bureau of Japan himself.
I see. Well, he looks reliable enough for a bearded fellow.
I don't think what father sports could be considered a beard, Mrs. Sholmes.
There's not a moment to lose. Kindly ask your trusty unshaven father to see this is sent.
I will, but what is it?
No questions at this time, if you please, Mr. Sato. All we can do is pray that, for once, my deduction is awry.
Interesting.
Sorry, doesn't that imply that deductions are only correct, Mr. Jones? Which isn't exactly. Now then! You may be surprised to learn that I'm a very busy man. I certainly have no time to hide behind settees and eavesdrop on other people's conversations. So that's what joining us for tea meant. I leave the sending of this in your hands then, my dear fellows. Away he goes. Wait a minute, Mr. Sholmes.
He just sort of ran off, didn't he?
At quite a pace. And left the unpaid bill for his tea behind too.
Damn, leaving it on us again. Sholmes. I must catch up with father at the telegram office at once. And I'll run and call us a cab straight away.
And there was me, thinking everyone would be clamoring to pay Mr. Sholmes' bill.
Huh. Interesting. I guess I'll go to the Fresno Street room, maybe? 2nd November, room on Fresno Street. Was that note put into our records? No, I don't get to read it, but I do get the photo. Oh, look at them. Oh, I just thought it was so cute. I love them. They're all great. Okay, anything new to examine in here? Yes, actually.
The photograph of Mrs. Vigil.
Realizing the identity of this lady was a very great clue to exposing Mr. Gossip's true identity. He obviously loves his wife very dearly, which is why he felt he couldn't tell her the truth.
The transformation was incredible, wasn't it? Just from that big twisted lip.
Yes, he went to extraordinary efforts to play the part of Hugh Boone convincingly.
Although, it didn't really seem like as much of an effort to me.
Now you say it, I have to agree.
It's almost as if that was Mr. Vigil's true character.
People really are very hard to fathom at times. And the board.
There are details of cases stretching back over 10 years on this notice board. Yes, the history of Lord Van Ziek's defeats in court.
I don't think that's an appropriate description. Although, when you consider everything on the board, it's certainly true that all these people had a background of dubious dealings.
In the end, of course, the board itself concealed the inspector's own death.
Oh my, it really doesn't bear thinking about. Nope, you're still mourning. You're still mourning.
This revolver, just who does it belong to?
Well, we know it's of the type issued to members of the police force and judiciary.
But Gregson's own gun was found on his person.
And of course, Lord Van Zieks has admitted to losing the firearm with which he was issued. Such absent-mindedness, not dissimilar to you, Mr. Naruhodo.
I'm starting to think the cold, hard prosecutor and I could become friends after all.
Then I wish you every success. No wind-up key.
I'd never have imagined that this little figurine would turn out to be a watch winding key.
I suppose it's a policeman because the pocket watch was a gift from Scotland Yard. It seems there was much more to Inspector Gregson than we ever realized. He was clearly a brilliant man.
It's the fish and chips that threw us off. I feel as though it ruined his image.
I really don't think we should blame one of Britain's staple cuisines.
But think about it. Imagine if it was Mr. Sholmes. How would you feel if instead of that old briar pipe that's always in his hand, Mr. Sholmes had a bag of chips?
Rather disappointed, if I'm honest.
Exactly. If it turns out that Gregson didn't actually die in here at all, where on earth could he have been killed?
Well, one way or another, we must find out. For the inspector's sake. You know, you look awfully pale again today, Miss Norongo.
Sorry. When I start thinking it all through, I conjure up some horrible images in my mind.
Your imagination is the culprit here, then. Most certainly guilty. And the wig, I assume? Yep.
It catches your eye as soon as you enter the room, doesn't it?
It's such a bright color. It certainly makes an impression, yes.
They can't possibly commit any crimes, can they? I mean, redheads stand out like a sore thumb.
I'm afraid with our jet black Japanese hair, we stand out almost as much here in London.
I suppose that's true.
You mustn't think of committing any crimes, Mr. Nodohiro.
I wasn't!
Why would he commit a crime, huh?
Using a candle as a timer device. Very ingenious, I must say.
Yes, the culprit arranged it so that the firecracker would be set off at 5 o'clock, and then left.
So that a loud bang was heard at precisely the moment Lord Van Zieks arrived, yes. If only he hadn't picked that gun up from the floor.
Something you probably told yourself once upon a time, I imagine.
Yes, I've learned that lesson by bitter experience. I would have turned and run a mile for sure.
Which may not have done you any favors either.
Yeah, running from the crime scene.
Open. That's all the investigating we can do here for now. Maybe we'll come back later. Yeah. Okay. The door? No, not the door. Let's see. The hospital bed we could try. 2nd November, St. Sinners Hospital, Ward 3. This is the ward where Mr. Vigil was brought, apparently.
To be frank, I'm a little worried about seeing him again.
Oh, there he is.
The lawyer. Hello again.
Are you feeling better now, Mr. Vigil?
Yes, thank you. Somewhat better. I'm so sorry to cause you to... I mean, it was because of me. If I hadn't exposed your secret and forced you to remember things you'd obviously tried to forget. The prosecutor was here until a few moments ago, too. You just missed him. Oh, Cosmo beat us to it. He said much the same as you. He was very apologetic. But the truth is, I brought all this upon myself. Please, don't think like that. Keeping it from me, Evie, my wife, all these years? I've carried such a sense of guilt. But that's not the worst of it. Over time, I obviously came to deceive myself as well.
You mean about your dismissal?
Looking back now, I'm beginning to think that perhaps Inspector Gregson didn't stumble across me by accident at all. I mean, he compensated me so generously for acting as a stand-in. He was clearly concerned for my well-being and doing what he could to help. So perhaps Gregson knew exactly what had become of Mr. Vigil all along then. I'm sure this is just desserts. No, they misspelled desserts. For 10 years of lies and deception, but... It wasn't me that helped the professor escape 10 years ago. It wasn't me. I swear it. I swear it's true.
Oh, Mr. Vigil.
I'm sure you'd rather not dredge up even more from your past at this time, but if possible, could you tell us exactly what really happened? I want to. I need to get all this off my chest. I just want someone to tell me what I should have done. Interesting.
I'll examine the room real quick since it's been a while since we came here.
This notice caught my eye before, actually.
I suppose it's some sort of slogan for the ward? A cheerful welcome message, perhaps?
Let's see. Pay with good cheer, leave with good cheer. Well, look at that. You were spot on, Mrs. Sato. It's full of cheer.
I wonder how many discharged patients pay their medical bills with good cheer, though.
Once I had to have a very painful injection when I fell ill with a cold. I felt awful already, so why did I have to suffer the sting of the injection as well as the bill? I yelled at the doctor.
Oh dear. What terrible treatment. Not the window. The papers?
These must be the patient's treatment notes. Let's see. Tendency to jump from windows. Remember to place cushion at base of wall outside. Aren't we a story up from the ground here?
Oh dear. Poor Mr. Vigil.
I can't help feeling that there's a better solution to the problem than a cushion, though. Finding something you'd lost isn't always a happy experience, it turns out. Pursuing the truth can be a very dark business sometimes, can't it?
Yes, I'm afraid it can.
There are all sorts of medicines in this cabinet, look. I'm not sure if it's safe leaving them in reach of everyone like this.
Yes, you're right. I can imagine if you're peckish, you might try some of the pills.
Well, at least there seems to be a little lock to secure the cabinet doors.
I don't imagine that would stop you if you were hungry. I worry that you'd break the lock.
Hunger doesn't turn me into a criminal, you know, Mrs. Sato.
Nothing here. Papers?
Patient treatment notes? What do they say, I wonder? Endlessly obliging. I suppose it's referring to the patient in this bed?
I would think so, and until Mr. Vigil is a little more stable. It's probably just as well that he has a kindly person in a neighboring bed.
The endlessly part is a little worrying, though, isn't it? I mean, what if Mr. Vigil suddenly declared that he'd like to take a trip out the window? Would this endlessly obliging patient simply open it for him and say, "Be my guest"?
Let's check with the doctor later. Crutches.
Ah, look, a pair of crutches. Before we came to Britain, I hadn't realized they were used here as well.
I imagine they were imported into Japan from Great Britain in the first place.
Oh, so no one in all of Japan broke a leg before their arrival? Anyway, the sight of these things doesn't bring back good memories for me.
Oh dear, did you injure yourself once and need to use some?
When I was little, I thought they looked fun, so I borrowed a pair to play with. But then I slipped and sprained my ankle.
I see.
They contain powerful magic, those wooden staffs. The power to heal and the power to harm.
I think a certain cheeky little boy managed to cause the harm all by himself. And the board up here.
There are lots of bottles in that cabinet there, aren't there? Do you think it's safe to keep them there?
If you were a patient here, I feel sure you'd take some medicine by mistake when you're half asleep.
That is a worry, but at least the cabinet has a lock, even if it's only a flimsy-looking one.
Oh, I have no doubt you managed to unlock that somehow while you were half asleep as well.
There are limits even to what I can do when I'm half asleep, you know, Mrs. Sato?
Alright. Let's talk.
Inspector Gregson was obviously engaged in a special operation of some sort. He was investigating something that even Scotland Yard couldn't know about. Details of the Reaper's marks, yes. It was when he had to carry out those investigations that I would take his identification and impersonate him. He would pretend to be the inspector and carry out investigations on his behalf. Oh no, never! A common street peddler couldn't possibly carry out a proper police investigation. All I would do is go to the specified location and make a little hoo-ha. Just something to leave an impression, so everyone there would think a detective called Gregson was here.
So that's what you were doing on the day prior to the incident?
Yes, he asked me to make an appearance at the park on Lime Street for the Red-Headed League event. So as usual, I flashed Inspector's identification around and was very vocal about my presence.
But then you were taken prisoner by those red-headed fraudsters.
Yes. So you would always make a point of showing Gregson's identification and generally being loud? That's what the inspector asked me to do, yes.
Well, that's one way of becoming a legendary detective, I suppose. Not a good one, though.
And as you know, I suffered this bruising around my neck at their hands. But the following day, they kept their word and released me. Without returning the inspector's identification to you, however. We had arranged to meet in the Fresno Street room at 5 that day so I could report back to the inspector. But at the agreed time, that's when I heard the gunshot. Interesting. And you know, I had thought at first maybe the assassin was what killed him, but like earlier I pointed out, Assassin is dead. So who did kill Gregson? It was at midnight on the 17th of June, 10 years ago. That was the time scheduled for the execution. But the professor's execution never actually took place, did it?
Or rather, the execution itself must have been used to affect the plan of escape. I hardly dare to imagine what a chilling plan it was.
Barclay was renowned for being the highest security prison in the country. Everything that went in or out of the place was searched multiple times. But there was one notable exception. Or rather, one notable loophole. Something that was never questioned. I have a feeling I know what that loophole was now. The coffins into which the bodies of the executed convicts were placed, correct? Yes. Once the coroner had confirmed the death of a condemned convict, the body was taken in its coffin for immediate burial in the Logate Cemetery just behind the prison. The chief warder first had to sign the necessary papers. And after that, no member of staff was permitted to touch the coffin containing the body again. When executions took place, only the executioner and the coroner were permitted inside the chamber. I would wait in the adjacent room for word that the condemned convict was dead. On that occasion, once I had that confirmation, I went into the mortuary to find a lone coffin as usual. The procedure was that I would sign the paperwork having checked the coffin, then nail it shut. But for some reason that day, the coffin was already nailed shut. No! I didn't think anything of it at the time. I assumed that my deputy must have checked the coffin and nailed it shut before I arrived. So you mean the coffin contained... Yes, I can only imagine that Asugi, having escaped his execution somehow, was alive inside the coffin. The coffin was then taken out through the main gates and deposited in Logate Cemetery.
Presumably there wouldn't have been enough air inside to breathe for long.
Ooh, sorry for the yawn. So in the early hours following the burial, somebody dug up the coffin again to set Genshin free.
But in the end, he was fatally shot in the graveyard anyway. What on earth really happened in Logate Cemetery that night, I wonder?
I'm afraid I really don't know. All I can say with certainty are two things. Asugi couldn't possibly have escaped that way without help from somebody working in the prison. And that somebody was not me.
It was the coroner and the executioner who were the only two inside. That means, by process of elimination, the executioner is the one who had to have faked the death. Because Dr. Scythe was already on board, confirming the body was killed. So she was an accomplice, but she was not the one who faked it. It's the executioner. And now what about the convict?
Obviously you knew the man then. The professor, I mean. Genshin Asugi. Yes, I remember him well, in fact. Would you mind telling us what you know? Well, having been condemned to death as he was, any contact I had with the man was short, obviously. After that trial, which was carried out behind closed doors, attended only by elite members of the judiciary, they called for his execution to be carried out at the earliest possible opportunity. The outcome of the trial was set from the beginning, wasn't it?
It was a time of delicate diplomacy when Britain and Japan were in the process of signing an important treaty. That meant that this potentially destabilizing case had to be dealt with swiftly and discreetly.
The man had less than a week in total. As I was the chief warder, I oversaw his short stay in the cells until his final hour. I remember being struck deeply by his noble character and incredible resilience. What do you mean exactly? He was a killer of many men, but he was always quiet and polite. He was a gentleman and a man of intellect. In fact, I couldn't bring myself to believe what he'd done, so I asked him one day. Those 5 members of the aristocracy whose lives were taken, were you really responsible? I'm guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life, yes. The following day, the closed trial took place, and the verdict was no surprise. Guilty. That night, when he was brought back to his cell, I saw something unusual. Something unusual, what? The last will and testament of Genshin Asugi. As I said, it was on the night following his trial after he'd been found guilty. I was doing the rounds of the cells, and when I looked into Asugi's, I noticed he seemed to have a sheet of paper in his hand. Ah, his last will and testament then, presumably. As soon as he noticed me, he hurriedly shoved it behind his back.
But why did you find that so unusual? Isn't it normal for a man to pen a will when he knows his death is nigh?
Yes, that's true, but there were special conditions to Asugi's incarceration, you see. What sort of conditions? Well, even though he was held in a cell designed for condemned inmates, he was allowed to keep his personal effects with him, with one exception. Really? He was allowed his things? That is unusual, certainly. Of course, he had been convicted of killing 5 members of the aristocracy, but at the same time, he was a guest in our country from the Empire of Japan. The powers that be were determined that his final days shouldn't be needlessly uncomfortable.
And what was the exception you mentioned? To the personal effects he was allowed?
That's the point. He wasn't permitted to have writing materials. Specifically, no pens or paper. They let him keep a fucking katana, but not... Okay. Alright.
So he was prevented from leaving any written record of what had happened to him?
Yes, that was the long and the short of it. I have no idea where he obtained that paper. Any writing materials would have been confiscated from it upon his incarceration. As I said, he hid the paper behind his back, and then he pleaded with me. What did you just hide behind your back? Please, please turn a blind eye. This is my lifeline. But you know it's against the rules. You're the only person who's seen, if you just agree to keep quiet. Alright then, but what's on that paper? A last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now. How can a will be a weapon? So I decided to pretend I'd seen nothing and I let him keep his will. But then later, it just seemed to vanish without trace. What? What do you mean it vanished?
It would seem that isn't the end of the story of this mysterious will.
Interesting. I was the only person who saw Asugi's will, but somehow it disappeared? It was after Asugi's execution.
Which was actually an elaborate jailbreak.
The warders gathered up Asugi's possessions that were in his cell. They were all to be sent back to his family home in Japan, you see.
To poor Kazuma-sama.
And you're saying that it wasn't anywhere to be found among his personal effects. The will, I mean. That's right, though I didn't search through them myself. But Governor Caden was livid. He was screaming. It couldn't have disappeared completely.
That doesn't quite make sense though, does it?
In what way?
Well, we understood that only Mr. Vigil was aware of the will's existence. In which case, how did the prison governor know to look for it?
Yes, you're right. I really don't know how he knew. But it certainly seemed as though he knew the will's existence from the outset. Only he didn't refer to it as a will. What he said was... The Asugi papers? The Asugi papers? I really can't tell you anything of the subsequent events. Because, well, of what happened. Your dismissal, and the way you blocked it all from your memory. I've forgotten all this until today. I don't suppose it's relevant to the case, though. Well, anyway, thank you very much for sharing it with us, Mr. Vigil. We're very grateful. Oh, it just keeps going deeper and deeper. The fucking conspiracies. I'm afraid there's really little more I can tell you. My wife Evie will be here shortly, so I do hope I don't appear rude, but... No, not at all. Thank you again. But what will become of you now? Well, impersonating a police officer is a criminal offense, of course. I imagine that once I'm fully recovered, I shall be arrested. I'm so sorry. Don't be, please. This was all my own doing. I always knew that this day would come. Well, I wish you well. Goodbye, Mr. Vigil. Ah! Before you go, there's just one thing. Oh, yes? What is it? The Asugi papers. I'd be very grateful if you make no mention of the things I told you about them. Presumably for some good reason. It's my understanding that their very existence is a closely guarded secret. If it became known that I remembered, well, it could be rather troublesome, I think. I understand. Some sort of will that Genshin Asugi penned just before his death, which the man himself claimed was his last weapon. I wonder, perhaps it had something to do with his plan to escape. Is there anyone who might know more about a document that Cosmo's father left behind?
It would be Mr. Vigil's governor.
Then we know precisely where we must go. Back to Barclay Prison.
Oh, look at the man. I assume if we examine him, we get to talk again.
Well, at least he seems to be on the mend. You know, his disguise as Mr. Gossip was really quite masterful, wasn't it? I can't remember anything about it except for the floppy lip.
I imagine not even his wife would have recognized him.
Perhaps, but did he really have to take it quite so far?
Alright, now we move. New location. Oh, yes, back to the office. Second of November, Barclay Prison, the governor's office.
Ugh, back again, are you? Yes, hello? I've heard all about your investigations. I've read the report just now. You found him, eh, Vigil? Yes, luckily. Well, anywho, the laddie doesn't work here no more, so I guess it's not to do with Barclay. I wouldn't like you to get the wrong idea about that. Of course, yes, Mr. Vigil stopped working here 10 years ago now, so...
Yes, we've seen his dismissal notice, haven't we? He was given the chop.
Aye, Kimmer, you can very well. So how about a weird handcuff biscuit?
Oh, they really are like little handcuffs, and as hard as irons, too.
So, what's brought you down here today? Well, there's something else we'd like to ask you about, actually. Is that so? We believe there might have been a document that disappeared from Genshin Asugi's cell. I think it's been called the Asugi Papers or something. Did I not say Gregson's death is not to do with things that might have happened at Barclay? Leave the past in the past, laddie. Let's not footer about with irrelevant details. His expression changed completely. We're clearly onto something here.
We might have to present something. Let's try talking, though. 10-year-old legacy.
That murderer's botched execution and the whole miserable escape. They were Barclay's darkest hour, eh? Shocking embarrassment. Because the convict had to collaborate on the prison staff, you mean? Aye, for shame. The coroner confirmed the death of the man after his execution, Courtney Scythe, and my chief warder at the time, Vigil, who was in charge of the whole affair.
But Mr. Vigil says he didn't know anything about it.
A rascal when they say otherwise, eh? More handcuffs?
Oh, how can I say no? You can have too much iron in your diet. When Mr. Vigil was handed his dismissal notice as a result of what happened, he was so despairing he jumped out of your office window, didn't he?
I didn't like to say, but that's just Vigil trying to get out of it. Do you think he wouldn't have jumped from the shock of his crimes being exposed, eh? I do. You wouldn't say otherwise, though, would you? Of course I can share no responsibility myself. I shouldn't have let him deceive me. Actually, there's barely anybody that kens what went on at the time now. The Gregs haven't been murdered, and Dr. Scythe forbidden from having any visitors. No visitors? Someone obviously doesn't want her giving anything away.
Well, we're not going home empty-handed.
I wouldn't dream of sending it back with not, Kimmer. Here, take a handcuff or two.
Oh, well, it wouldn't be rude to say no. We want to become anemic.
I suppose if there's anybody who might still ken about what happened back then, it'd be that lass from the forensic division, Maria Gori.
Maria Gori? You mean the one who did the autopsy report when Dr. Scythe was gone and who, for some reason, admitted the time of death on Dr. Gregson? Not Dr. Gregson, Mr. Gregson.
Oh, it was her daughter! Aye, so told her she didn't have no more, just the one. Well, the wee baron's followed in her mam's footsteps. You didn't ever see her without a scalpel in her hand. Ugh.
Oh, I'd completely forget what voice I gave her. She was here for like 2 minutes. Mama, what is this?
Where did she spring from? And did she just call the doctor Mama? Dr. Scythe's daughter, Maria Gori? We could do with talking to her. So, she's Dr. Scythe's daughter, but her surname is Gori? Aye, it's a family history, I'm sure, but I didn't ken the ins and outs of it. She grew up watching her mum working with the bodies of the folk who died in strange circumstances. Decided to do the same with her own life. I can understand it myself.
Perhaps she was driven by a deep respect for her mother.
Perhaps. Anywho, she was in charge of Gregson's autopsy, I believe. Right, and the coroner responsible for this incomplete report. Someone told me once that the wee lassie always loved her mum's stories about cutting up bodies. There's even a rumour that she used to listen to the funeral march as a lullaby.
Well, then perhaps. Her mother might have told her about the autopsy from the case 10 years ago.
Aye, I'd say there's a fighting chance at least. After all, there was a life-changing case for all of us.
We really need to speak to Miss Gori herself about this, I think. Well, thank you very much.
I'm not happy about any part of this. Took years for Londoners to finally forget the whole professor business. Can you no give up on this, laddie? Stop asking pointless questions.
I'm sorry. I don't like dredging up these painful memories for everyone.
You know, just stay away now. Leave me alone and didn't come back here, eh?
One more question. The papers.
Why'd you come to ken about that, laddie? There's not many folk even here in the prison who've heard of those papers.
Well, I can't tell him Mr. Vigil told me. I'm afraid our sources must remain confidential, sir. We've been led to believe the papers are actually a last will and testament. Is that right? A professor's, or rather, Genshin Osugi's.
Aye, that's right. You're well informed to me.
Oh, is that the end of the silent treatment? But then after the convict's execution, it mysteriously vanished from his cell, didn't it?
Avers, no, you're off at half cock there. I think you didn't quite get your facts straight. It was there in the cell, exactly where it should have been.
Oh, not what we heard elsewhere.
Let me just have a wee look around in here. I'm sure I can find it. Aye, here you are. See?
The last will and testament of Genshin Osugi, written with a calligraphy brush.
Of course, I cannot read a word of those Japanese scribbles, but I'm mind it says he leaves all his worldly possessions to his son back in his homeland.
Yes, that's correct. That's the gist of it.
So these are the Osugi papers. Aye, of course they are. Papers written by Osugi, ain't no doubt about it. There's no mystery here, laddie. That's your lot. After all this dumbash of that slicer of an execution, we sent the man's possessions back to his clan in Japan, and that was the end of it.
I think we ought to make a record of this, Mr. Naruhodo, just in case. Last will and testament of Genshin Asagi that Mr. Vigil claims disappeared after convict's execution. Apparently, Mr. Asagi described it as the only weapon I have left.
One thing before you go on your way, Mr. Naruto. Oh, yes? Those papers are not to do with Gregson's death. I prefer it if he didn't I make no mention of them outside this office. Rather, I wouldn't I just prefer it. Consider it an order from the highest levels of our government. I understand. Well, I know we're going to be breaking all the rules. Haha. I, Genshin Asagi, hereby request that upon my death, any and all material possessions and wealth belonging to me in London be delivered to my son, Kazuma Asagi, in the Empire of Japan. It is with deep sadness that I accept my fate in this foreign land, in the knowledge that I will never see my homeland or family again, but I regret nothing about my chosen path.
Interesting. I'm wondering if he was maybe made to take the fall for somebody else. Like, he killed a person because he was very specific that he took a human life when he talked to Mr. Vigil, but not all of them. And maybe he thought that killing that person would be worth what followed? And then that would be why they tried to break him out, because he didn't actually do all the mass murdering? I don't know. Well, perhaps here, maybe we can find Kazuma. There he is! 2nd November, British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office.
No arguments, Prosecutor Asagi. You will continue with the trial exactly as I instructed. Is that clear? Perfectly.
It's Kazuma-sama!
Defying Lord Strongheart by the sound of it, he never did know when to back down.
Oh, we've been spotted.
On your way now, Asagi. My lord.
Whisper something in my ear. Come on, let us know what he's doing. I know he's not a good guy. He reminds me too much of Damon Gant.
Kazuma.
And there he goes.
He left without saying a word. Yes? What are you doing here? Oh, well, I was just hoping to ask you a few questions, if you wouldn't mind. I wanted Van Ziek's trial concluded today. But Prosecutor Asagi's unwelcome inquiries are going to make it take longer than necessary. Unwelcome inquiries? As a result, I'm losing even more precious time. Currently 2 hours, 55 minutes, and 41 seconds. 42. 43.
We must resolve everything before 3 hours have passed, Mr. Naruto.
In a miraculous not even 5 minutes? Anyway, I can't let the man's obvious bad mood put me off. I need information.
Alright, I'm not even gonna bother inspecting here because, like, why would I? I already know what everybody's gonna say. The Reaper!
Does Prosecutor Asagi believe that Lord Van Zieks is the Reaper? I wouldn't know. It was 10 years ago, in that fateful closed trial, that Lord Van Zieks made a name for himself among the judiciary. But the next trial he fought, he lost. It meant the ringleader of a criminal organization was acquitted, thanks to all the jurors being under duress. But that's awful! The man's freedom was short-lived. He lasted just 3 days.
Yes, let me see. He died in a rock slide at his place of work, I believe.
Correct. That was the inauguration of the Reaper of the Bailey. And people believe Lord Van Zieks was responsible. He was brought to trial himself, but it was shown to have been an accident. So you must have had a solid alibi then. Nevertheless, the mysterious deaths continued. In total, 16 persons perished in unusual circumstances, ostensibly at the hand of the Reaper. That's a long run of coincidences.
Well, the Reaper's true identity may well be revealed by this trial.
And the impact that relation would have on the British public cannot be understated. Is that why it's a closed trial? Precisely. This country hasn't seen a closed trial for 10 years. So the last one was the professors, the trial of Genshin Asugi. Correct. Actually, we heard that originally you were going to prosecute that trial yourself, Lord Strongheart. Van Zieks entreated me to relinquish the prosecution to him, that he might avenge his brother's death. And here we are 10 years later, with the son of the man Van Zieks had condemned, now looking to avenge his father's death in the same way. They do say that what goes around comes around. However, it would seem that the new young prosecutor is harboring some ulterior motive as well. Cosma is? I like my organization to run smoothly, in the exact manner that I prescribe. As with the giant clock in here, I won't tolerate a single cog being out of step with the others. Ah, so that's what all these gears are about in here. If the young man refuses to mesh with the other parts of my great machine, I will be forced to take steps. What do you mean? Not something with which you need concern yourself. In any case, all your questions will be answered tomorrow.
Ominous.
Now, I shall have to ask you to excuse me. As of this moment, I've been delayed from attending my next meeting by precisely 3 hours.
Oh my! That is a long time!
And I hold you entirely responsible, even though we miraculously managed to fit everything into not even 5 minutes. I wonder if you might agree to us, talk with Prosecutor Asugi? Discussions between the defense and the prosecution outside the courtroom are generally frowned upon. However, I will make an exception in this case. Now go. You can find him in his office. Oh, thank you!
Let's go to see him at once, Mr. Naruhodo.
Cosmo's my best friend in the world, but I'm really not at all sure I know how to talk to him at this moment.
You know, for as much as I keep saying he seems to be evil and he keeps reminding me of Gant, like, he just keeps doing things that help us. Prosecutor's office. The 2nd of November. Prosecutor's office. Oh, it's another little model set up. That's nice. I like the detail.
So this is the office of Prosecutor Asugi now, is it?
Kazuma-sama is doing so well for himself.
Even though he's always forced to kneel on the floor Japanese style in that dark corner?
It's his habit to sit Seiza style whenever he's working.
Kazuma. I thought it wouldn't be long before you paid me a visit, Ryunosuke. I was right about what I said, wasn't I? Sorry? That you have all the makings of a great defense lawyer. Well, I always believe that you fulfill your dream of advocating the British courts. I just never imagined for 1 second that it would be as a prosecutor.
Seeing you stand in a foreign courtroom, so gallantly realizing your dream, Kazuma-sama. I'm truly happy for you.
I'm surely thankful to you, Judicial Assistant Mikoto. Ryunosuke, I always thought it would be fun for you and I to shake up on the British legal system a little together. This isn't quite how I envisaged it, but I suppose it's just another twist of fate. I've learned a lot of things during my time in London, about how Susato-san's father himself was a visiting student here once, along with Judge Shigoku, and about what happened with your father. Then you'll have no difficulty understanding why I had no choice, why I had to find a way to get to Britain as a visiting student myself. I want to hear it from you, Kazuma. As you wish, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Okay, there. The game's good. Took a minute to load it. Alright, first we're gonna examine everything because it's been a while.
Lord Van Zeek's fine collection of hallowed chalices and bottles all neatly lined up. Yes, he's extremely particular about all that. He has a strict regime for everything, from the storage of the casks to the bottling of their contents. Gosh, he must be having a really tough time of it being his apprentice. Actually, no. Oh? He's so particular about it all, he refuses to let anybody else touch any of it. So it's been quite easy for me, in fact. Talk about weird.
Chessboard.
There's Lord Van Zeek's incredibly stylish desk. It's not my style, though. No, I noticed you've been working at the little table on the floor, kneeling down Seiza style. I thought it was some kind of punishment set up by Lord Van Zeek's when I first saw it. I find it the most comfortable way to work. I can't do it. After a couple minutes of sitting with my legs folded under me, they start to go tingly. Don't exaggerate, Ryunosuke. We both know you can't even manage a minute.
Oh, that's cute. Okay. Alright, you guys are fucking gay, I understand.
Do you know who the man in the portrait is? Why would I? What? But you're Lord Van Zeek's apprentice. Yes, apprentice, not friend. And during the time I was suffering from amnesia, I didn't even notice that picture. Oh, really? I mean, it's not the smallest picture. I wouldn't have the first idea what the man decorates his office with.
So he doesn't know the image of Clint. Interesting.
Oh, what the? It's a scale model of the crime scene. Oh, yeah, I realized that. Does the prosecution office make a model of the scene for every single case? Apparently so. Sometimes it helps to visualize things better and notice things you hadn't spotted before. Actually, the miniature notice board is my work. Be honest, you enjoyed making that.
That's cute too. Crafting little figurines and stuff.
These casks, floor to ceiling, just like the last time we were here. Hollowed barrels, I suppose. They're arranged according to vintage, flavor, and region. Every week, they're all taken out and put back in order. What? Every week? Lord Van Zeeks can't seem to settle on the perfect way of arranging them, you see. Vintage, flavor, and region don't neatly coincide. That's the trouble. Gosh, being his apprentice must be a real challenge. Actually, no. Oh? He considers the task too important to entrust to anybody else, so he does it entirely on his own. So he's a barrel of laughs here and in court, then. God, what's wrong with him?
The bats! Yeah!
Ah! You disturbed the bats, did you? Fitting companions of Lord Van Zeeks, wouldn't you say? Actually, I've seen things flying in Lord Strongheart's office too. Doves, I think. Perhaps you have to like birds to attain rank in the judiciary here. Although bats aren't birds, of course. How about a sparrow for you? What's that supposed to mean? Oh, nothing. Sorry, just thinking out loud.
Hang on, I'm pretty sure that's a reference. What's the Japanese word for sparrow? Sparrow. Suzume. I don't know any of the characters' Japanese names well enough to know if that actually refers to someone. Yeah, it's just a bunch of like I'm checking a website called gshow.org because it's basically just if there is a it doesn't make sense, and it's Suzume, but it's gshow.org. It's basically a website that stores a bunch of Japanese words, and you can search in Japanese or in their English definition, and they'll try and pull up the different words that match that in various manners, because there's always a bunch of kanji that mean similar or separate things. And so every single iteration of sparrow that I could see was Suzume, or like involves Suzume and another word to denote the type of sparrow. So unless it's a reference to a Japanese character's name. Or a character's name in Japanese. I don't know what that reference is. Okay. Back. Go back. Oh wait, I tapped out. That's why. Because that is everything. Now we can talk to him. Your disappearance.
It's getting on for a year now, since what happened on the SS Buria. We were heading across the oceans from Japan to Great Britain, when a bizarre series of coincidences led to those tragic events. I thought I'd lost my best friend forever. I must have been unconscious for a long time. When I awoke, I was lying on a bed. It was a narrow little room. There was a posy of flowers by the pillow. It took me a little while to realize that I was in the cabin of a ship. I slipped out of the room and headed up onto the deck. Were you already suffering from amnesia at that point? Yes. I didn't know what had happened or where I was. There was just this voice in my head. You have something you have to do. Something no one else can know about. Go to Great Britain. Your task awaits you there. It was a calling I couldn't ignore. It compelled me relentlessly. Out on deck, I saw that I was on a huge steamship and we were docked in a large port.
It must have been Hong Kong.
Yes, it must have been. Presumably just before they were due to carry your body off the ship. I had no idea of the situation, but I did have the feeling that this was in some way my last chance. So I concealed myself among the disembarking passengers and went ashore. Then I disappeared into the crowded streets of that foreign port city, so I could plan my onward journey to Great Britain.
Tell us about that too.
Just under a year ago, with all my past memories lost to me, I was left behind in Hong Kong. Everything was foreign to me. The sights, the sounds, the smells, my head reeled. I was truly at a loss. I realized now that I'd escaped as a dead man, with nothing but the clothes on my back. No money, of course.
Oh, how terrifying for you.
Luckily, though, I had 2 feathers in my cap. One being your knowledge of English, I suppose. That's right. And on the back of that, I was able to pick up some work as a deckhand on a cargo ship. Eventually, after calling at countless ports, I finally arrived at Dover. That must have been some 3 months ago now. Your formidable tenacity of purpose showing itself again. I mean, the man had lost his memory and had literally nothing to his name, but he still managed to make his way to London on the opposite side of the world. Of course, I had no idea why I'd moved heaven and earth to get here at that point. So how did you end up becoming Lord Van Zeke's apprentice then? That can only be called an extraordinary stroke of luck, really. You see, I was stopped at the border because I had no papers. They took me straight to Scotland Yard, and by sheer coincidence, Lord Strongheart was there to attend the meeting. That's when the second feather in my cap came into play.
Would that have been your knowledge of the law?
Yes, exactly. Lord Strongheart was curious about me, so with intimate knowledge of British law. He took me back with him to the Supreme Court and assigned me to the prosecutor's office. And then 9 days ago, you finally got your memory back after the trial involving Drebber. Yes, I did.
And then that segues to your father.
Ever since I first met you at Yuma, you talked about your dream. Ever since I first met you at Yuma, you talked about your dream. Mark my words, Ryunosuke. I'll be chosen as a visiting student and make my way to Great Britain someday. Did you know the entire time about what happened to your father here? 16 years ago.
He's got his own little sword to match his dad's.
When my father left on that exciting trip to Great Britain, I was just a boy. We took a photograph together the day before his departure. It's my last memory of him. What I remember most about my father is his unswerving sense of justice. 6 years after he left, a gentleman called at our family home. He told me that Genshin, my father, had been taken ill in England and passed away. It was Professor Mikotoba, your father, Susato-san.
Oh my.
Ever since then, the professor was very good to me. He even helped to fund my university education at Yume. I'll be forever in his debt. But nevertheless, I just couldn't bring myself to believe what he told me.
Oh.
Then one day a letter arrived at our house from Britain. There was no indication of the sender, so I opened it assuming it was from an old acquaintance of my father. What I read in that letter changed my entire life. What did it say? It said that my father had been a mass murderer, and the writer cursed the Asugi name.
No!
As a result of that letter, I found out what had been hidden from me all those years. A letter from Britain. Presumably the letter was sent as a relative, from a relative of one of the victims. If whoever it was had been a member of the judiciary, he could have been present at the closed trial. The letter revealed that my father had been sentenced to death, executed for being a killer. I'm so sorry you had to find out that way. I imagine the British government did its very best to silence whoever sent that letter. But someone who knew the truth and couldn't bear the resentment was always going to be a problem.
But still, it could have been written by anyone. Why would you believe such a thing?
There was a newspaper cutting included with the letter. It was the first I'd ever heard of the professor and his terrible killing spree.
Well, what did my father have to say about the letter?
I couldn't bring myself to show it to him.
What? Why not?
Because he deliberately concealed the truth from me by telling me my father was taken by a fatal illness. That couldn't have been easy for him. And he'd done it out of consideration for my feelings. So instead, I showed the letter to the Judge Jigoku. To the other visiting student. He faltered for the briefest of moments, but then he just laughed the letter off. But in that moment, I saw it on his face. He was undeniably shocked, shaken momentarily before recovering his poise. A year later, my bereaved mother succumbed to the strain of grief, and she too passed away. That's when I made up my mind that one day, without fail, I would cross the seas to Britain and seek the truth for myself. The truth about my father, Genshin Asugi. I wouldn't let anyone stand in my way.
Oh, Kazuma-sama. And finally, the trial.
What we learned today in court turned things completely on their head. It was an impressive piece of lawyering. Ryunosuke Nonohiro. Lord Van Zieks isn't the Reaper, you know. I almost don't want to believe it myself, but it turns out that Inspector Gregson himself, the victim, was. It's clear that the Inspector was behind the Reaper's activity all along. What? You mean you knew? The real question is, who has been giving orders to the Inspector? Yes, Beric Van Zieks is the real Reaper. And I know that 10 years ago, it was him who decided my father must be a mass murderer and sent him to his grave.
No, he was merely saying that justice was done as the law dictates. He's not to blame.
Ultimately, it's people who condemn people. The law is just a tool that they use to do it. And when a man condemns another, he must take responsibility for his actions. Of course he must. But I know for certain that my father would never have taken another man's life. Kazuma. On the contrary, my father's life was taken by the Reaper. Oh, my guy. I kind of hate to break it to you. He did admit to killing someone. Kazuma, what do you make of this? There's only one place where defense lawyers and prosecutors should discuss evidence, the courtroom. So it seems you're still confused by the situation. That's what I make of it. I get the feeling my friend's always going to have the edge over me, isn't he?
Do you want to look at this photograph of us together with the people? Isn't it fun?
No, okay.
Is there anything that would get a rise out of him? Maybe we're supposed to speak to Miss Gory first. Because where is she? Oh. Oh, we were probably supposed to go to Saint Sinners, maybe? No. Unless they just looking to the left. I mean, right. We were told to speak to Miss Gory, but I don't know where she is. Did I miss her in this room? Okay, yeah. Maybe there is something I'm supposed to present here then? Do you want Mr. Trevor? Not Trevor, fucking Mr. Vigil? Anything? There's some sort of flag I must be missing then. That was all of his conversation options. Indeed it was. Do you know where I can speak to Miss Gory? Because I talked about everything here. Wait. I did examine everything before, but I want to see... Oh, there's nothing new for the bird. Okay. The hotel? Nope. Did we miss something here in the justice's office? Nope. Sholmes' suite? Nope, it's the same thing for you, right? There really is nowhere else I can go. Just double checking here again. No, examine real quick. Yet she's not here. So there has to be something we can present to get him to talk. Is this... Oh, wait, am I missing the badge presentation thing? Hang on.
Kazuma, this is your armband. Actually, I think it's yours now. Sorry? You're the defense lawyer. You have a talent for it. I've always known that you would. And now you've chosen to take that path in life. As your friend, I couldn't be happier for you. Or more proud. Kazuma. So you keep hold of that. Besides, I'm a prosecutor now. That armband would have no meaning for me. Well, if you're sure, thank you, my friend.
Okay, now can I present these papers to you? You bitch-ass motherfucker. Okay. Did I miss something when I was examining? I thought I moused over everything. Crime scene replica. That over there. The bats. The kegs. His desk. What do you think about the Redhead League?
I was shocked when I found out they were related to the case. The Red-Headed League, I mean. Personally, it wasn't their plan to swindle everyone. Everyone that surprised me. It's the fact that so many red-headed people gathered from all over London that day. A certain great detective being among them. I expect those who are in their cells as we speak, wishing they never dreamt up their little plan. Or maybe they're busy plotting their next one.
Okay, I already tried this. What about this? Yep, nothing. I already tried this, but just one more time. Yep, nothing. What do you want to see? The wig? No? Is this your gun?
The Reaper. At last I get to take my revenge. Kazuma? Lord Van Zieks isn't responsible for your father's death, and he's not the Reaper. He's the defendant and deserving of a fair trial. You mean like the one my father had? It's a closed trial now, too. The conditions are exactly as they were 10 years ago. And even if it ruffles some feathers, I have a plan to show that man for what he really is. Cosma.
Okay. Did the wig? Nope. This photograph. Nope. The autopsy report, maybe?
This came up in the trial, didn't it? As something a little dubious, I mean. The fact that no time of death was recorded on Inspector Gregson's autopsy report? Yes, there were some unexpected turns in the courtroom earlier. A suggestion you came up with certainly took everyone by surprise. The idea that the victim died the previous day at some other location is quite something. Well, considering when the pocket watch had stopped and the scorch marks on the candle, it's certainly a distinct possibility. The evidence and the scene both point to it. To be honest, it bothered me too, so I paid a visit to the autopsy room earlier. The coroner responsible wasn't there, but I got a name. It's Dr. Gory.
If it wouldn't trouble you, Cosmo-sama, we'd very much like to speak with the coroner too.
Of course, the last thing I want is for anything to be brushed under the carpet. Scotland Yard's autopsy laboratory is behind Lowgate Cemetery. By Barclay Prison, you mean? Ah, you know it, do you? The prison where my father was incarcerated and robbed of his life.
Cosmo-sama.
Well, thank you. We'll pay a visit to the laboratory later today.
Okay. So you have to present the right thing to unlock going to the lab. Okay.
Ryunosuke, I want to thank you.
What for?
For this. You safeguarded the soul of the Osuki clan. Well, it is a famous sword that's been in your family for generations. My only slight regret is that I never got the chance to draw it before I returned it to you. Karama is said to have been forged by a master swordsmith during the Sengoku Warring States period. I come from a long lineage of warriors, many of whom were expert swordsmen. Well then, you're a chip off the old block, I'd say. This blade, Karama, is a symbol of the Osuki clan's honor and might. Apparently, one of my father's apprentices even took the blade's name for a surname. Really? Karama? It does sound formidable, that's for sure. 16 years ago, when my father was a visiting student here in London, he had the sword forever at his side, which is why it means so much to me that I have it by my side again now too. And that is all thanks to you. It was an honor. Now, I have preparations to make for tomorrow. Perhaps I said a little too much. Kazuma, you've changed. No, Ryunosuke, I haven't changed at all. It's you who's changed. I can completely understand your resentment of Lord Vance's given what happened. But the fact is, those events and this case are, well, unrelated. Is that what you want to say? How can you be so sure? What do you mean? Never mind. That man is the Reaper, and it's for that reason that the inspector was killed. I'm going to prove as much in court tomorrow, by whatever means necessary. I can't let you do that, Kazuma. I know you do what you have to as a lawyer, but I'm sure I don't need to tell you that I won't be taking any prisoners in the courtroom. I would expect nothing less. Until tomorrow, then, in the Old Bailey.
Okay. Now we get to its laboratory.
Oh! I guess she redecorated. Either that or she's got a room very much like her mother's.
2nd November, Forensics Laboratory.
This place really is creepy, isn't it?
Well, being a dead room, it's probably full of the spirits of the dissected. But actually, there's a rather pleasing scent of roses in the air. Well, being a dead room, the coroner probably needs a bold scent like that to mask the odor of death.
Iris, do you think we could change the subject?
Oh, there she is.
What was that?
The daughter, she's here.
Dr. Gory?
Internet went out for a moment. Ooh, are you okay, Lamp? Yes, we're talking to Dr. Gory.
And she has knives, some very big knives. A butcher knife, a scalpel, or whatever that other knife is. I'm assuming it's a scalpel.
What?
That noise before.
I was sharpening my tools. I'd be dead mute if I didn't keep a perfectly keen edge on them.
Right.
When following the collagen fibers in the dermis, an expertly sharpened scalpel cuts like cheese. Would you like a demonstration? Oh, yes, please. I'd love to see. Then, I think you'll do nicely.
No, I wouldn't do nicely at all. I mean, maybe some other time. Was that a tut? Well, we came here to ask questions, so...
Firstly, we examined everything.
Those large jars seem to have pale things floating around inside them. I suppose they're fruit liquors or something? Or like the pickled umeboshi plums we make back home.
Yes, let's assume there's something completely innocent like that.
That jar you're looking at up there contains monkey brains.
Oh, why?
The composition is similar to the human brain, so they make for interesting study material. And in the next jar along we have a monkey.
No more monkey anythings, please.
If you say so.
Oh dear. The time when I still thought it was just some pickled umeboshi plum seems so long ago already.
A table and a set of sharp tools. When you consider each in isolation, it all looks quite innocent. So why is it that when you put them side by side, they seem so horribly disturbing?
It might be best not to ponder it too deeply.
That's Mama's dissection table. It's too high for me, though.
It is?
If I fell from that height in my sleep, it would really hurt.
What? You mean you sleep in here?
Autopsy work is very involved. It's usually too late to think about going home when I'm finished. But I have bad dreams when I sleep here, and I always end up falling onto the floor. So I'd like to exchange that table for a lower one.
Maybe you should just go home.
God, sleeping on a bloodstained autopsy table could not be me.
Look at all the bottles on the shelves in these cabinets. What an assortment of chemicals.
These ones here are labeled highly toxic.
That's worrying, because there are also things that look like salt and pepper shakers in there.
Oh yes, and they actually say salt and pepper on them. The doctor probably spends a lot of time in this room, I suppose. Perhaps she has meals here sometimes.
Life goes on, even when you're surrounded by death.
So that was this up here. Now what about the shelf?
This looks different to before.
Of course, Mr. Naruhodo. Miss Gory is a young maiden. She's all sorts of charming little dolls to like around her place of work. Look.
Oh yes, you're right. Perhaps she's not so strange after all.
They're how I practice.
Sorry?
Mama always says that operations and dissections require speed and accuracy. So take out my needle and thread and stitch 3 new dolls every day.
Right.
I used to make livers or kidneys or intestines, but Mama told me to make something more friendly instead.
That's quite different to what I'd imagined. She's a good seamstress, though. I like that cat. It's a very good cat. The owl.
That looks like an owl and a crow up there.
I know, and they haven't even twitched since we came in here.
Well, no, they wouldn't have. They're taxidermy mounts, Master Naruhodo.
Oh, I was afraid you were going to say that. I've been trying very hard to tell myself they're just sleeping with their eyes open.
Yes, I think perhaps you're wise to put something like your Dharma doll on display in the office instead.
Well, look at this. What a magnificent display case. The cherry wood has been polished to a high sheen, and the intricate carving is a joy to behold. Western cabinet makers really are very skilled, aren't they?
It's 10 people.
Pardon?
It's made from the bones of 10 different people, all mixed up together. Some of my best work.
I was admiring the case, actually. The scary skeleton inside is something I intended to ignore as best as I could. You're strange. I wonder who is the strangest. Whew. She's something. We have actually met before. I'm a lawyer, if you remember.
You're not dead yet.
What?
So Mama said I wasn't to cut you open. She's so strict about things like that.
Well, good. Dr. Scythe has some scruples, at least.
Oh dear. It looks like she's not interested in talking to us. For the time being, anyway.
For the time being, you mean until we die? I hope that's a way off. Sorry, but I wasn't planning on dying anytime soon. Surely there's some less drastic way of making her listen.
The autopsy report?
Dr. Gory, we actually came here to ask you about this.
He was very good.
Good? Sorry?
His skin didn't snag on my blade once, and very little mess. His joints dislocated easily, and his muscle tissue was a pleasure to work with.
We can skip those details! But there's one thing about the report that's caught my attention. You don't seem to have recorded a time of death.
Oh. Well, you're cute enough, at least. That's not my fault!
Oh, that made me jump.
Then please, tell us what happened.
So why doesn't this autopsy report include the victim's time of death then? It's really the most crucial detail.
I was told not to write it.
What? By whom?
Male Strongheart, the Lord Chief Justice, he came here.
Lord Strongheart came?
He said that from the witness statements about the gunshot and the other evidence, it was obvious. The man clearly died at 5 p.m. on the 1st November when the gunshot was heard. But that's not the time of death you wrote on the report. You didn't write anything. Was there some reason you didn't include it?
Dr. Gory, if you're hiding something under Lord Strongheart's instructions, then sooner or later, you're going to go the same way as your mother.
Give it here, then.
Huh? What's she scribbling so furiously?
There?
You've written...
What she's written? Tell us!
Indeterminate?
But... Details of the autopsy report have been updated in the court record.
What do you mean by that? Why was the time of death indeterminate?
When the specimen was brought in, it was still fresh, so the time of death could easily have coincided with when the gunshot was heard. But there was one small discrepancy.
What discrepancy?
There was some fried fish in the pocket of the specimen's overcoat. And that fish had started to rot.
What?
If the victim liked fried fish, he presumably liked to eat it before it went off.
Well, yes. What are you really trying to say?
It's possible that someone tried to manipulate the apparent time of death.
Manipulate? Is that even possible to do?
Theoretically, if you were to chill the body in ice, you could delay the onset of putrefaction. And if the overcoat wasn't on the body at the time,
then only the fish would have started to rot.
With today's science, it's not yet possible to determine if the body was chilled or not.
But today's science is advanced enough to let you freeze a corpse, it seems.
But surely, to chill a corpse like that would require an enormous electrical refrigerator, and I don't imagine many households in London are equipped with such a device. No, definitely not. But maybe in a factory or some other special places? I don't recall seeing any factories as such like on Fresno Street, though. I wonder, if the inspector's body had been chilled somehow, what might the actual time of death have been? I couldn't say for sure. But at the most, it might have been a day earlier.
No!
In other words, it would corroborate your previous deduction, Mr. Naruhodo. That Inspector Gregson was killed the day before his body was discovered, at a different location.
Did you inform Lord Strongheart of this possibility?
He simply said that there were no electrical refrigerators of that size in the vicinity.
He's covering something up! He's covering something up!
If I were to throw my hat in right now because of that whole Damon Gant parallel I've been making with him, he's the one behind the Reaper murders. I'm just gonna say it here. He's way too suspicious. Every time they give him helping us somehow, they also throw in something like this where it's like, oh, he's covering things up. He's hiding things. It's under his own orders. Don't say anything. And it's like, really? Why are you going out of your way to hide this information? Huh? Maybe if you're covering up your plot of multiple years.
Oh yes, one other thing. It's something the governor of Barclay Prison told us. He said that your mother, Dr. Scythe, was responsible for confirming the death of the professor after his execution.
The professor.
Apparently you always enjoyed listening to your mother's stories about her work, so we were wondering if you might know something about what happened 10 years ago.
That's not all Mama did.
Sorry?
My mama carried out the autopsy of Clint Van Zieks as well.
What? Really? The brother of Lord Van Zieks, the professor's final victim.
The idea of carrying out an autopsy on a member of the aristocracy was completely unthinkable back then. But the detective in charge of the investigation insisted, and was miraculously authorized. That detective being Inspector Gregson, of course.
Quite an accomplishment for one man.
That autopsy provided the vital clue needed to arrest the killer. And Mama was there for that historic event.
What does this all mean?
You know, that amazing autopsy happened right here in this very room. The professor and Clint Van Zieks. They both spent their final moments before their burial on that dissection table there. So this lab, Mama's lab, was instrumental in some of the country's most important events.
She really is proud of her mother. I wonder if you'd tell us more about exactly what happened back then, Dr. Gory?
There we go. Confirmation of death. The professor's execution was Mama's first big case. She had to be in attendance at Barclay Prison's execution chamber and sign the certificate to confirm the convict's death. Mama is the best coroner in the world, you know. I was so proud of her.
But the execution didn't actually take place.
No, and worse still, Mama actually helped with the jailbreak. I didn't want to know. Oh dear, you found out recently, you mean? I believed in her, and Mama, but still. Now I wonder if I'm starting down the same path as her.
You mean because you omitted the time of death on this autopsy report? But that's because Lord Strongheart forbade you from including it.
Just like Mama. I'm sure she was coerced by somebody too.
Yes, that's my feeling as well.
There's no doubt that there were powerful forces at play 10 years ago. The execution couldn't have been staged without a lot of people at the prison knowing about it. Obviously, the prison governor must have been in on it as well. The big man with the little handcuffs? According to what he told us, he was tricked by the chief warder. He says he knew nothing about it. Of course he said that. I'd say the same thing.
Just who was behind that jailbreak all those years ago? You mentioned the autopsy of Clint Van Zieks.
It was at a time when carrying out autopsies of murder victims is very unusual. It's still not a practice that's observed in our country, even now. It turned out that he was the professor's final victim, and when the autopsy was performed, Mama was present, although only as a secondary assistant. The person leading the procedure was called Dr. John H. Wilson. That's right, my daddy! And there was one other person present, the primary assistant. He was a visiting student from the Far East.
Wait, a visiting student?
It must have been my father, Eugene Mikotoba.
I had no idea Professor Mikotoba had been involved in something so important.
But the outcome of that historic autopsy was the discovery of a vital piece of evidence that led to the capture of the professor.
So that's how they came to identify Genshi Inosuke as the infamous mass murderer. Do you happen to know anything about that piece of evidence? Can you tell us any more?
Would you like to see the records for yourself?
Would that be alright?
What's the point of keeping records if people can't look at them? They're filed under V at the back of those cupboards, with their other records from the last decade.
Oh, thank you. Let's see. Van Zeeks. That's strange.
What, Mr. Naruhodo?
They aren't here. There's nothing under Van Zeeks.
There must be.
Perhaps somebody took them away?
No. No one's allowed to take documents related to the professor case out of this room. But you're right. They're gone.
Well, when was the last time somebody looked at them? Do you remember?
It was... Oh yes, I remember now. It was 2 years ago. A consulting detective came one day saying that he'd like to see the records.
No, you don't mean...
Herlock Sholmes was his name.
Deep down, I knew that was coming.
Do you think he stole the records? Oh, no, surely not! Iris, that can't be right, can it?
Iris?
Bruno. I hope you don't mind, but...
What is it, Iris?
I just remembered something very important I have to do. I'm going to have to leave you now. Oh, this is very sudden, Iris. Well, we'll come with you then. Oh, no, there's no need. You and Bruno can take your time here. Bye for now, then. Good luck. Wait a minute, little girl. Huh? Me? I remember now. You've been here before, haven't you?
Have you, Iris?
Yes, 2 years ago when that detective came. You were with him, weren't you? You were a living specimen then, too.
That's the way it usually works, yes.
Was I? I really don't remember. Anyway, sorry, but I must dash.
I must dash too. I've got Porco Rosso to go see. So I'm gonna save here and we'll save this for next weekend. Oh my god. Okay.
Actually, is next weekend... Yeah, next weekend we should be fine. Alright, well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today, and next time we'll pick back right up where we left off with this, again, roller coaster of a case. So, good night, everyone, or good day, or good morning, whatever you are.